Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Risen Open Dominate semifinals. Tonight, we're going to switch things up a bit with myself, Dia, as well as Goforino on the desk. We're bringing you a potential best of five tonight. Rather, we will be going to the best of five series. I don't know if we get 5 games though, because we got both teams looking pretty strong. I know that you already have a favorite going into this. Go for.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the pure stats alone, like I'm having to root for Oof in this matchup because, I mean, 10-1, that is dominant as all hell, having only dropped one series. And keep in mind, this is the semifinals. So they've made it to the semifinals, dropping only one series. And none of those were during playoffs because this is single elimination playoffs. There is no losers bracket. So if you lose once, you're out. And that is really goddamn impressive. Of course, on the other side, I mean, the Plumbers Union, don't get me wrong, they definitely have a strong-ish record themselves. A little bit more shaky at that 6-5. However, though, they have been able to pull it together during these playoffs as they're now at the semifinals because whoever wins this gets to go on to the grand finals next week.
Yeah, and I think it's worth bringing up, but I'm going to take the sort of opposite stance of it here. Plumbers Union, we saw them in that last bit as we're actually getting into pro draft here as well. They were able to beat out Team 1 that beat Oof in the end of the regular season here. So I do feel like they've got a little bit of a read on how to beat this team if they can continue their success from the previous week. Right now, though, taking away Hecarim, Malphite, Echo is Oof, and Swain Zoe wiped off the board for Plumbers Union.
Yeah, just taking off a lot of very heavy power solo laners here, and that one jungler in the Hecarim. Definitely a little bit interesting, though, seeing that Swain ban, since not typically a very common ban nowadays. In fact, most people are memeing about how that's mostly a solo queue support pick. And that red box there is actually an Ashe. It is just a pro draft bug, Pro draft, it gives and it takes, but it mostly takes. But hey, that is the last of the bans, though. So a lot of power picks taken off the board. However, though, we do have a couple that have still slipped through. We can potentially... Okay, that was going to be one I mentioned. I was going to say, like, maybe the Shen, maybe the Volibear, maybe the Caitlyn, but there's the Insta-Shen lock-in. Has been such a potent pick. You can flex it not only from top to the jungle, but there is still always support Shen, even though it hasn't been as prominent. It is still something you got to look out for, and I'm wondering what the response is going to be from Plumbers Union here, because there are other picks they can grab here, and Senna would be a little bit interesting here as a first pick.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking we were going to see something more Caitlyn-oriented because Plumbers Union does tend to grab those strong bot lanes early. They've grabbed the Swain for themselves in the past and used it even as a potential flex pick throughout drafts. So the Senna, a little bit confounding here. Plumbers Union, I feel like they play a lot through the jungle and try to translate that success into bot lane. Senna isn't going to be one of those win more champions, though.
Yeah, and pairing out the Mordekaiser too, the Mordekaiser into Shen is definitely an interesting matchup because I can't quite remember the interaction between Stand United and the Death Realm. I know that if Shen is on the same team as the Mordekaiser and he ults the Shen before he enters the Death Realm, Shen will actually plot where the Mordekaiser is in real time, even though he won't be on the Mordekaiser. It's a little bit weird, but I don't know how it works here. I want to say that the Death Realm will block that Shen ultimate, the Stand United, as he goes out. Of course, though, they're going to be having to look at the early laning phase here in the top lane because the Shen will do a lot of damage to Mordekaiser. A little bit squishy early on before he starts getting some items under his belt.
Yeah, I've seen this matchup go both ways, but I feel like more often than I see it go Shen favored because he is one of those priority picks that you mentioned. Mordekaiser's fallen off a little bit, and we do get this kingdom where Shen is very much the big boy in the top lane who brings a lot of utility to the map, and it looks like he's going to be bringing it to a very strong bot lane. Oof with the Jhin Lux, I expect that to be bot lane with how strong support Lux is right now, and it's basically untouchable.
Yeah, and that is going to be a very long-range bot lane. However, though, you have to remember that Senna is also another long-range AD carry. She starts off the game with a 600 auto range, which is insanely long for an AD carry when 550 is the typical, and it only grows as she collects souls. And then when you pair it with the Bard too, Bard, not necessarily the longest range of supports. However, though, you have to remember that the double sustain, thanks to the Piercing Darkness from the Senna, the Shrines from the Bard, it can really ward off a lot of the potential poke here from the Jhin Lux, which isn't a typical super all-in lane. It's
Mhm.
more so just they'll try and kill you from a distance, and then once they hit 6, they can look to go for that big pop of an all-in. Senna Bard, though, should be fairly safe thanks to the heals coming out from both of them. We have a bit of another pro draft bug here as we are trying to sort out just what incarnation that blue box is.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Might be a no ban, although I sincerely doubt it, as it looks like it's going to be Kha'Zix that was banned away there. One more jungler taken off the board in addition to the Hecarim, and I like the point that you bring up about the fact that Plumbers Union's bot lane is safe. Now taking away a high pressure jungler is oof, because that's a way that you can look to sort of bust open the map. Oof already have a pressure point in that bot lane should they choose to dedicate there, but Plumbers Union don't really have a lane that can change a game yet.
Yeah, and it's going to be kind of interesting here for Plumbers Union since Senna Bard, it's not exactly high kill bot lane.
Hmm.
You don't really have like that super carry you're powering up. The Mordekaiser, definitely a strong pick and can do damage, but it's not typically the sole carry of a team since he's usually stuck on a side lane, 1v1ing that Shen. And then even in team fights, it's like just due to the nature of that death realm, when you put someone in it, well, it's kind of hard to super buff up a Mordekaiser when he's all off on his own, 1 versus 1. So I'm curious what the Plumbers Union want to lock in for the mid lane here. I
Hmm.
want to see something that can bring a lot of DPS here, like maybe Corkin, maybe Cassiopeia, maybe an Azir. Like there are definitely DPS options here in mid lane, and I want to see something that can hard carry.
Yeah, I think their other option here is to go for something that can side lane because there's not a whole lot of side lane ability, with the exception as that Victor actually totally swiped my point away. But I was thinking of going with something like a 1-3-1 Mordekaiser in a side lane.
Oh,
Yone here though is going to bring sort of the best of both worlds to Plumbers Union.
yes, although the Yone is definitely a very high risk, high reward champion.
Hmm.
He's gonna have a little bit of a hard time early on into that Victor, I feel, just due to the fact that when he dashes in, the Victor can very easily place the gravity field. Of course, though, the Yone won't have to worry too much about gank since Kane pre-transformation is like, he just comes in, he hurts you kind of, he can do some damage, but he's mostly looking for those little juicy jobbly orbs so he can, digi evolve into whichever Kane form he wants. But the Yone is definitely DPS in the mid lane, and I do like this. You do have the picks to back it up. You have the Zac to set it up. Any potential problems, you can just use Mordekaiser to take him away from this Yone. And then, of course, the Senna and the Bard can set up some very nasty picks, can also provide a lot of heals and utility to this Yone, and just let this Yone maybe take over the game.
I feel like he almost has to as well. PhD in mid lane is going to be somebody who can pop off, but my eyes are really on Demos, who's going to have the onus in the early stages of the game. Even once we hit those level 5 through even 10, I feel like Zac is very much the jungler that you expect to be making things happen and has to be making things happen around this mid lane so that Yone can contest the scaling picks that Oof have for themselves.
For sure, yeah, because Oof, they definitely do have scaling themselves. Thanks to that Victor, thanks to that Kane. However, though, they do have some things that will be falling off here. Jin, kind of notorious for falling off in the later stages of the game when he's having to deal with tanks, especially against the Zac. He's not going to be doing too much, not going to really be matching the DPS of even the Senna, really, because Senna
Mhm.
doesn't have to worry about those reloads. Senna has that longer range. Senna does have that passive where if she is able to get the 2 taps of an auto and ability or just 2 abilities on you, she does do that percentage current health damage. And that does allow the Senna, of course, to outscale and out DPS this Jhin. And then Lux support, I mean, when you're on a support budget and having to build a lot of utility items, Lux, it's gonna do some form of damage, but it's not gonna be like the 1000 AP one shot YouTube thumbnail Luxes you typically see in the mid lane.
Yeah, and because we have the Lux in that position, I expect that she'll be filling much more of it. It sounds weird, but that she'll be filling more of an almost Senna-esque role here. That she'll be sustaining her team from the back line, where Senna this time around, because she's in the AD carry position, is going to be taking on a little bit more DPS, and you're almost getting a better version of that sustain with the Lux, and Senna more a supplement to the team's damage than it feels like utility this game.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how it works out here for Oof because they definitely do have the pick potential thanks to Lux, thanks to Jin, thanks to Shen, thanks to Victor. They can make a lot happen off of a single pick, but I'm curious to see how it works out in the 5 versus 5 team fights here because when I'm looking at the Oof composition, I'm like just kind of wondering how are their team fights going to work here because I'm gonna assume that the Kane here for Phil is probably gonna end up going towards the Rost red form this game since you are facing triple melee and you're probably going to be the first man in on your composition. And the Shen kind of needs a taxi to buggy on into the enemy backline. Of course, though, if Oof they want to play a much more kiting back sort of game, they definitely can do that very strongly too. Victor, Lux, Jin, all great picks at just running backwards from the enemy since they have a lot of CC. Jin does get a lot of free move speed thanks to his passive, and Kane, not exactly the most retreat heavy sort of pick, but hey.
I don't think that will bog him down too much. Like you say, not exactly the most retreat heavy, but we'll be able to stall out potentially team fights. And the big thing here for me is seeing whether Plumbers Union can decisively engage because they do have the potential to be kited out. And if Oof can kite out Plumbers Union right here, they leave what you're already mentioning as a triple melee composition very much in the dust with not a lot of options. Oof have a lot more ability to deal damage from range and keep you at arm's length.
For sure. And I'm curious to see how that works out for sure. Of course, though, it might be very hard here for Oof since they are facing a lot of dive between the Zac, between the Yone. The Bard ultimate can always just be such a tricky thing to deal with.
Mm.
And especially since their team, it might be lacking a little bit of damage. It's definitely not lacking a ton of damage, but it's lacking a little bit. And if you're not able to very easily get through this Zac, he's going to be able to continuously wreak havoc. Oh, excuse me, that's a verb. But he's going to be very easily able to wreak havoc on the back line with just all those forms of CC continuously. Of course, the Mordekaiser for Bush, he's able to solo out someone. That's going to be great too. Granted, though, this Mordekaiser probably going to be relegated a little bit more to that split push duty. And then, of course, PhD in the mid lane on this Yone. If he is able to hit the 2.5-ish item spike that Yasuo is known for, since he has kind of the same crit boosting passive, he's going to be able to tear through literally anyone not named Guyman 609 here.
Yeah, and that's the real, like we say, the focal point of this game. I'm curious to see if we can see this Yone enabled, and there's a lot of execution here that I think we have on both sides, but I think, like we say, and like we've reiterated a few times, a little bit more on Plumbers Union. For those of you in the chat who are wondering why I'm bouncing, I'm sitting on a yoga ball. That's my whole thing. However, I would
That's what it seems like to me. I'm like, that is a very yoga ball esque bounce. Like,
yeah, it's got a little bit of vibe to it, keeps me in the games. But I'd also like to see in the chat who you guys think has the better end of this draft as well, because we're gonna throw it onto Summoner's Rift, and me and Go4, we'll see you there. Welcome out of the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, for game one of tonight's semifinals in the Risen Open Dominate. I am still Dia. I'm still joined by Goforino, but Gofor, I've stood up this game because I am ready to get some semifinals action.
Yeah, I am too. I am fairly hyped for this because, I mean, it's Risen. Everybody loves Risen. You better love Risen, or else I'm gonna have all the Travi bucks sucked away from your account. I know Caddy is able to do that, and he is currently on stream. So, yeah.
I love
Either
Risen.
way, though,
Please, don't do it to me, Gofor.
very calm level 1, almost as calm as the dog that's sleeping under my bed. Because, yeah, I would have made my bed, but the dog that's currently under my bed is the reason why I couldn't make my bed. And then right before the stream started, a certain dog that was on top of my bed ran under my bed, so my bed just looks like a mess.
I understand that. I used to have a dog myself. Me and my roommate have since moved on, and I do not have a pet-friendly apartment. So he has my dog, but do you not get dog hair absolutely everywhere?
So this is my family's dog, and I'm only taking care of her for like a week. So,
Gotcha.
her hair, she sheds, but she's not like a giga shedder. Like, she's not like, those dogs that are just like, I am going to shed an entire body mass's worth of fur right now. But
Oh yeah.
like, she definitely sheds, but she doesn't actually shed a lot unless you brush her. It's kind of weird.
That's kind of nice though.
It is kind of nice, yeah, I will admit. But within this past week, there definitely has been an increase of dog hair on my bed since she kind of loves lounging on my bed.
I was actually going to bring it right back to your dog as well, because unlike the very same dog that we're talking about, it seems like Plumbers Union did not find their way towards some cheese in the bot lane, as Aang and Shimmy were waiting in that bush for now, or just then, and right now we're just hanging out in the early couple laning phases, and that's why we've been so calm here and able to talk about stuff, is because we've gotten fairly standard starts from everyone. This is just the way that the lanes play out. There's not a lot of early pressure just yet.
Yeah, there shouldn't really be a lot of kill potential here, except for maybe in the mid lane, if PhD in the mid lane has a potential for good all-in. Perfect Discourse probably won't have real kill threat until he gets that Chaos Storm at that level 6, since he is going that teleport on the Victor, so he doesn't have that extra ignite pressure. And typically, especially against Yone, a lot of your damage early on is just going to be harassing, and you aren't really going to have the burst to finish it off unless the Yone goes in. So you're probably just going to force the Yone to go back, which is still a very strong thing, as speaking of strong things, that's a nice little bind in the bot lane, and there's a nice little all in the top lane.
Ooh, nice pull right back onto the turret as well. We'll give him first blood there. We thought that first action was going to happen in the mid lane, but with a beautiful pull there, pushed in 9-11, grabs that one for himself.
That's just always one of the wonkiest things in League, because the Mordekaiser pull just always yanks, no matter which direction you're facing it. Even as a Shen who can be fairly tanky, if you're level 3 and have 150 health, Tower Shot's probably gonna kill you, and that was like the weirdest first split ever, which is kind of saying a lot since I have been casting for a couple of years here in base Risen. Oh, never mind that. Demo's gonna step over that trap as that bind does land. Look for another bind though, look for the slingshot.
And we're still going forward as well. They want to try and take down Shimmy, at least force the flash out of him, and they will do so there. No real kill threat in the bot lane, because like you said, that trap being activated buys a lot of time.
Yeah, and the fact that that trap activated really saved them there, because they're able to get even more advanced warning, because if that hadn't happened, they would have only had a little bit of advanced warning if Perky the Parrot and Earl King had decided to walk up there, which they probably would have, but still, those extra few seconds are super crucial, especially in a game like League, where a lot of fights and a lot of games are just decided on like a fraction of a second sometimes. And having a few extra seconds of warning, that's kind of a big deal. Either way, though, with all that being said, in this bot lane, it's actually a slight CS lead so far for Earl King, which is kind of interesting. I know that he is going to be able to sustain through a lot of poke, but I didn't think that Aang and Jimmy would be having this rough of a time.
Yeah, and I think it comes off of the fact that they should, by all rights, be winning the lane, right? We have Jin Lux. You're ready, of course, to start putting down the harass and trying to whittle down the enemy, and they've been doing a lot of that. But Perky the Parrot and Earl King, they've got the sustain in their pockets as well, and they're not focusing nearly as much on giving that harass back. It is just about the CS for them, and that means that Aang and Shimmy, unfortunately, in their priority, have fallen a little bit behind here. As we're going to continue getting a heavy trading bot lane, but Bard going to be locked up, going to be ignited. Perky the Parrot could go down here. One more auto will do it, and Aang will get the first kill in the bot lane there. My apologies, onto the Bard, and will have a nice chunk of gold for himself, maybe being able to win this lane more.
I don't remember Avatar The Last Airbender being this bloody, but hey, that's what happens when you misstep, because even if you do have all that sustain, you still have to respect all the potential damage that can come out. The Ignite coming out from Chimmy's Lux, able to deny a lot of that potential healing coming through, and Perky the Parrot on this just early game Bard hasn't really backed, didn't have the Guardian up, just not able to take that as Guyman just gonna drop again. Kind of unfortunate there that he wasn't able to escape and wasn't able to dodge out on that grasp from the Mordekaiser. I don't know if the Shadow Taunt was up from Guyman. I'm assuming it wasn't, as a gank in mid lane, immediate flash out from Perfect Discourse, but there's the yoink.
Nice pull back in there, as it should be Perfect Discourse going down, but he's going to be pulled back as PhD in mid lane right back to his Shadow, and not trying to walk it out, but you're against a Zac, my friend, and I think one more little bounce will do it onto Perfect Discourse. The last auto plus the Stretching Strikes will secure him, and the victor goes down. PhD in mid lane with a little bit more free time.
And that is very big. Even though the kill does go over to Demozy, even though it does technically cost a lot there, since you did expend the Ignite, you expended your jungler's flash. Never mind that, this is a jungler's gank Boogaloo.
Yeah, not much has changed since Shen was just level 5. No real combat ultimate to get away here, and pushed to 9-11, now going to be going up against a laner who's already losing and now has no flash as well.
Yeah, the Shadow Dash was still on cooldown for Guyman. Had that been up, he would have been able to get out cleanly, but on the other side, we have Phil just taking this dragon. Perky the Parrot, he's trying to contest this, but buddy, I don't think you win this 1 versus 3. He's going to have to take Bar Tunnel on out, as we like to call the battle bus, and they're just going to be retreating off the dragon, interestingly enough. Maybe they think that Demozy is coming down ASAP, but of course, with our 2020 vision and our beautiful observer named Caddy, we can see that he's kind of just doing the red buff right now.
Yeah, he's surprisingly not coming down. I would have really boogied it down, but I'm not a very good jungler either, so, you know, that's just me. I definitely would have flamed my jungler had he not shown up, but with Perky the Parrot now being able to cancel that dragon effectively, it makes it just a net good ping, or net good play, rather, for the Plumbers Union, who get something in the mid lane and lose absolutely nothing anywhere on the map, and coming out at 1 and 3 right now, 2k gold lead in their pocket, and still a nice amount of CS across every single lane, nobody falling behind. They're going to be feeling good.
Yeah, and this early Ocean Dragon would have actually had some decent benefits here for the side of Oof if they're able to grab it. Specifically in the bot lane and the top lane, it would have mattered a lot, because in the bot lane, Aang and Chimney, they're going for a very heavy poke game. They're taking a decent amount of poke back, and having that extra Ocean sustain will help them match the heals coming out from Earl King and Perky the Parrot to an extent. And then, of course, in the top lane, I mean, one of the best things to have when you're losing lane just this giga hard is just the Ocean Dragon saying, don't worry, buddy. You took another bad trade because you were behind in the top lane and literally cannot play the game. Have some extra health, because if we take a look at the gold values in the top lane here, Caddy. But memes aside, 1,200 gold, already separating these two top laners. That is very scary when we already know there is solo kill threat here from Bush, and it can only get stronger here. The fact that Guyman had to opt for that early Spectre's Cowl and not the Tiamat that most Shens grab, it super lowers his kill threat in this lane, and that is like one of the biggest things Shen has when he rushes that Titanic Hydra. He has insane kill threat, even against some juggernauts like the Mordekaiser, but when you're sitting on just a Spectre's Cowl and your opponent almost has the Leandri's Torment completed, this is all pickle and no Rick.
A little bit of a trap here in the bot side, though. Shimmy's gonna find the binding. The roots are eternal there, and Earl King trying to get away now. Might be caught out here, and the Lux ult over everybody will be able to secure him. There is no passive.
Oh, here comes PhD.
Demos is running away. PhD, he's coming down to try and find something, but Phil's going to be able to pop over the wall here. Nice use of the Bard portal to go over, as well as the Cane Hop to get out.
And this is a very even game so far here, Dia, because going into this, like, I know I at least was fairly decently favoring the side of Oof. Like, I didn't put it past Plumbers Union to take at least a game or two off of Oof, but honestly, this is dead even. And in fact, even technically slightly favored for Plumbers Union if we want to be like, well, technically it was a gold lead, but it's not like, you know, it's 1,000 gold lead. Like,
It's comebackable.
It's hashtag winnable.
Yes, and right now I think that the name of the game here for Plumbers Union is to take that away. They gotta win more. Mordekaiser, if we toggle the gold again, I'm sorry, Caddy, he has the gold for the Leandri's Torment right now. Can get that, which is a huge power spike for him, and he's already winning his lane so hard. You need to be able to push things like this and draw attention, because as hard as Mordekaiser is winning, Phil hasn't shown up here at all. There are no resources that he's demanding on the map.
Oh, gank in the mid lane.
Yeah, perfect discourse. Maybe a little bit of trouble once again, but a nice sidestep there as we're seeing a little bit of skirmishing in the bot lane as well. Perky the Parrot, he loves to play around these edges, eh?
Yeah, and since chat was asking, we're not able to see the Cane stack, sadly. However, though, before all of that started, there was the Blue Cane evolution available for Phil. I don't actually, yeah, he evolved, so he's actually going Blue Cane this game, which is very interesting. Oh, never mind. Okay, he still has Shadow Assassin ready on his status bar. I wish, like, for observers in the Spectate client, it would tell you how many stacks, because, like, I can look at Earl King right now and definitively say he has 18 stacks. I can look at Perky Parrot and say he has an amount of chimes. Never mind. Director can't take me back. But either way, like, it's kind of giga meme. But Phil, never mind.
Yep, PhD in mid lane here, getting a little bit of trouble. Should be able to get out using the Fate Seals.
Slingshot.
Nice double use of that is now Demos trying to find Shimmy in this bot
Teleport.
side. Flash available for the Lux, though, will get her out. The return ultimate will find nothing but empty there. Perfect Discourse has the stand united on top of him, but Aang takes down Earl King even before that. Shang gonna have to involve himself somewhere else as Perk the Parrot flashes into the tower. Now we got to teleport in the middle of 4 members. That's a very dead person there. Bush did 911, tries to flash out, gets rooted up, should be taken down here. Death Realms, one person in Guyman. Guyman not actually having a lot of HP left to him either. Won't be able to follow him under the tower. He gets perfect Discourse, flashes under the towers, and gets healed and lives. Even gets another pop of the passive here for the Zac, and Demos should be going down. The snipe out from Earl King will find the return kill on Perfect Discourse, and now Perky the Parrot in a lot of trouble as well. The fight never ends here, and Aang grabs another kill. 3 kills on this Jhin right now. Oof, look unstoppable in this bot lane.
And this is League of Legends 101. We see the gank come out in the bot lane, but there's a level 6 Shen on the enemy team. There's a Victor with teleport on the enemy team. So all of a sudden you're 3 versus 2. That becomes the 3 versus 4. And that is not very good. PhD in the mid lane does not have the Fate sealed here if he wants to try and contest. And yeah, Guyman gonna be hanging out here on the edge. At those Shen, more than enough to ward away this Yone, as that is a definitive dub coming out for the side of Oof.
And it's a definitive gold lead as well. Yes, it's not what we saw for Plumbers Union in the 2K. It's a little bit less, but being able to take up that deficit and put themselves now at an advantage, not just in the Dragons, but in the gold as well. We're only going to see that increase with Jin's gold. Bought himself the Storm Razor already there to try and push his lead in the bot lane.
And Storm Razor, of course, very standard to rush on Jhin, although there's a little bit of debate between the Infinity Edge and the Storm Razor first, because the Storm Razor does not give a lot of AD, even for Jhin, who gets that free AD from his passive when he gets crit, when he gets attack speed. But the slow utility on it is just so strong that Jhin still loves grabbing it. And when you look at the enemy bot lane here, the Senna, the Bard, they don't have the best tools to escape. He wants to slow him up with that auto, and Chimney on the Lux has great follow-up if you're able to slow them just a little bit here, because Lux Binding, it is still kind of dodgeable, even if it is a mildly fast skill shot. But when you're slowed by, what is it, 40%? 75% for half a second, you will notice that as Aang. Not liking that trade, but you will notice that slow, and that is going to help this Lux for Jimmy land those bindings so much more easily and set up for these fat Wumpa combos. But there's the slingshot.
Gank in the mid lane in perfect discourse, locked up twice, make it 3 times as he gets knocked up once more. Earl King taking a lot of damage, but it won't matter just yet. Should manage to be cleaned up there, though the Temper Fate not going to find his safety. Phil moving forward here, wants to find Perk the Parrot as well as he gets locked up again. This Lux support going insane, and Demo's forced to flash away as well. Phil's going crazy though under the tower, cleans up the kill as Chimmy tanks it up for him, and a very nice play once again from Oof will get them another couple kills under their belt.
And Oof just executing on the fact that they have a Shen and the enemy team doesn't so well. However, though, both these champions here for Oof trapped in the enemy jungle without their ultimates. This is a very pickle of a situation. There's a Fate Seal. That's huge.
Nice Fate Sealed. Will find Chimmy there, and Bush wants to find Phil on his own. Earl King is moving down to try and help out. The blast plant nicely done over the wall there. The Death Rum gonna come in to try and find this Kane, but doesn't want to follow him over the wall. So we're just gonna get a little bit of a war of attrition. Phil goes over the wall once again. Is this the great escape? PSG in mid lane doesn't have the Fate Seal, doesn't have the CC, tries to dash forward, but the knockout from Phil might be enough. No, he's gonna get rooted down. PSG could finish him off. There it is, the shutdown onto the Kane, and Guyman now forced to retreat. Is that 4 people in his lane?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happens when you get trapped behind enemy lines there. I'm sorry, but dip and dive all you want. Try and be as slithery of a snake as you want, but you're not escaping 4 people that are between you and the closest friendly turret, and kind of see it there. And most importantly now, this Yone here for PhD in the mid lane was able to get that nice little mini shutdown onto Phil, and I believe was able to get the kill onto Chimmy there. So that's a lot of gold going into this hyper carries pocket here. Already has that Phantom Dancer finish, has the pickaxe in inventory too, and 2,100 gold in the bank right now if Caddy takes a peep at it. That's more than enough to grab a BF sword and the crit cloak on top of it. So he's going to be very well on his way to that potent 2 power spike and the 100% crit, but it might just come a little bit sooner here. I know it's Halloween, but Christmas, all the radio stations are playing it.
Yeah, and Demos is going to be playing it as well. Tanks up the tower for everybody. It feels like he's not even taking damage, gets tickled there as the Victor dies once again.
God, he was already dead. Like, did you really need to commit 4 ultimate abilities to it?
Yeah,
did you really?
It's really about putting the final nail in the coffin there for perfect discourse. You talked about the amount of gold that PSG and mid lane have, but even more so is the difference between them, and that's exacerbated now.
For sure, because we're nearing 2,000 gold differentiating these 2 mid laners, and when you consider perfect discourse, sure he has the gravity field, but now that there's some items under PhD in the mid lane's belt, he has the Infinity Edge finish too. Like, he can't just use the Fate Seal to immediately hop onto this Victor before he can even place down that gravity field and absolutely destroy him with this Ignite. And that's not to even factor in the fact that PhD in the mid lane after this, he doesn't need to itemize any more crits. So if he wants to go for like maybe a Death Stance, maybe a QSS, whatever he wants, like as a little bit of defensive itemization to help him out here, it's gonna be big. But here's the dragon. That's just not gonna be taken as Phil.
Yeah, no steal there, no root either though. Nice Lux ult over top. Will find Victor here. Phil trying to escape on his own. PSG in mid lane will be escorted out here, and it's going to be a net 1-4-1 around the dragon there. But dragon does go over to the side of Plumbers Union.
And that is very big, because you get the 1-for-1, but you're trading a 0-3 support for the jungler who actually has some kills and is actually kind of worth something. There's a slingshot. No ultimate Let's Bounce quite yet, though, for Demo Z. Doesn't quite land the mark as he's going to be rooted up. I don't know if he has the passive here. He does, in fact, have the passive. So if Demo Z does decide to pull a run it down mid here / win trade, he does at least have an extra chance.
Yeah, and he's got I think a fair amount of tanky stats is fair to say it right now. Yes, he's got mostly magic resist, not a lot of armor just yet, but we're seeing another fight. PhD mid lane, we talked about the deletion potential. We're going to see it there. He is going to get shut down, though. Phil doing a lot of damage in return. I feel like it's really the battle of the two carries right there at the end.
Yeah, but that 500 gold shutdown on top of the 300 kill gold count, that is massive for Phil's pockets here, because he is going to be the first one going in here, so he wants all the stats he can get here, because the longer he lives, the more abilities he's able to use, the more health he's able to shred, and the more healing he's able to do. And that is a scary prospect here. Of course, it's still a scary prospect coming out from the other side too, because PhD in the mid lane 4-1-2 on this Yone, working towards the death stance, if I'm not mistaken, with that cauliflower hammer there. And the fact he doesn't have teleport, but he can sit in a side lane and absolutely destroy Perfect Discourse's victors here without a second thought, not even needing the ignite. That is gonna be such a pain and thorn in your side the later this game goes. As Guy, he's gonna land the taunt here. Look for the pull. There is the pull, but oh, here comes Perky the Parrot. I don't think we're gonna see too much develop out of this news story.
No, but I really like what you bring up there, and it's something that I had almost forgotten since the draft phase, was this idea that side lane is something that Plumbers Union can play through, because I saw the Victor and I went, Victor side lanes really, really well. Maybe you don't want to go for that as a win condition, but now that you bring it up, I mean, we're looking at a Mordekaiser that's quite ahead and even gets a dive right now from his jungler to help get him even further ahead. Guyman could go down here. One more mate smash will do it. Bush did 911, grabs him for and a little bit of extra gold in his pocket. The tower as well. And the side lane win conditions really start to open up when you look at PhD in mid lane and how far Bush did 911 is ahead.
Yeah, and that's going to add up so much, because Guyman on this Shen is just put monumentally far behind. You can see in the itemization too, like, oh, that's the great catch out from Perky the Parrot. Let's see what dividends come of it. This is a stock market game.
Oh yeah, he is so dead, and Phil not looking a lot better for wear here. Is going to be able to buy a little bit of time there with the inherent abilities that came in, but Aang being soloed out on the backside as well. Shut down from PhD in mid lane. Easy as you like. That's 2 picks, and Baron's up.
3 picks, actually, including the enemy jungler.
Oh, and Chimmy. I forgot Chimmy died, actually.
It's okay. That was a while ago. Either way, though, that's just a free-ass Baron here. 23 minutes into the game here. Sure, it's not really a noticeable gold lead right now, but now with this Baron picked up, you can see that gold lead already bumped up here. Like, I wish there was a native Baron power play within the client spectator mode, but knowing Riot, we're going to have to wait a decade for that. Either way, though, like, we can already see the gold lead has jumped. It was like about 3k before that Baron was taken, now about 5k. Now with this Baron buff, they can look to just crack all these turrets open that are sitting around, because there are still all 3 inner turrets. There are all those base turrets, and with your dive potential, thanks to the Zac, thanks to the Yone, thanks to the Bard, and of course that Senna, you can really try and just force this home, even though the enemy team does have that Victor engine for fairly decent Baron defense wave clear.
And I like your idea here. Let's take track right now. I marked it at around the 4k gold advantage when they had backed with Baron. We'll see how much more they can get by the end of the buff. We're marking it at 4k. We'll see how much further they get. I imagine that part of that advantage, though, is going to translate into this dragon coming up.
Yeah, because it's going to be big here, since both these teams are just sitting on that singular dragon point. And with how even this game has been thus far, even now with the Baron being taken, sure, it's a noticeable lead, but it's not a game-ending lead. These dragons, they are going to matter a lot here, because everybody knows that Dragon Soul is just such a huge thing. Now, oh, never mind that, as there's a pick in the top lane.
2 into the top side. You don't want to get too close as Aang, because Death Realm is available and is definitely a death sentence for somebody like an AD carry, but death sentence to the chances of contesting the dragon here for the side of Oof as they commit 2 top lane.
Yeah, make that 3 potentially, as here comes Phil. There's the taunt. There is the Death Realm. We call this Yu-Gi-Oh, but does he have Exodia?
Current objective, survive for Guyman, and I'm not sure he can do it. He cannot! Bush did 911, takes him down. Now Phil, maybe next to follow. Gonna be a flash away
Oh.
there. Carries Phil even further in and just burns a summoner because party time.
Wait, there's a dive. Party time?
It's party time! PhD in mid lane finds himself another double Lux ult. Won't find any kills just yet. No AP, like you mentioned. Perfect Discourse trying to find Perky to pair it on the back of this. Will be forcing the rest of Plumbers Union off, but it's 2 picks now for them, and they've still got Rain over Summoner's Rift.
And keep in mind, not only do they have Rain, but they also happen to have a Baron buff here, DS, so they can look to really force this. Because, God, the fact that they had to trade 1-for-1 in the top lane, and then we still see that dive in the mid lane, since Guyman was dead, he couldn't use that Stand United to help a homie out, and Phil, you have to be a little bit careful here. He's going to spot out Perky here as he's going to knock him up. Galfrey is here, though, as that slingshot is charged up. There is a lot of tension in the air, but not a lot of sweet release, as no one's going to therapy, it seems.
No, not just yet. I very much liked the bait there from Perky, and I think it exemplifies the really nice team play that we have seen so far from the side of Plumbers Union. They understand where their win conditions are at in these side lanes, and you see demos visiting them consistently. On the other side of that, I'm wondering, what are the win conditions that you see Oof playing for?
Obviously, you have this Victor. Who can scale it very nicely. You do, of course, always have that kiting threat. You have to get this Shen to the point where he can survive in a mid lane, but look what's happening right now, Dia. Does this look like surviving?
This does not look like a tanky Shen at all in the face of PhD in mid lane. Triple items. There's the death stance that you teased earlier, and he is essentially unkillable right now. Has Senna in his pocket as well, and we're already seeing the 2-man top lane.
Oh no,
Phil gonna be taken down there. The root should spell the end here. Perky's gonna eat a little bit of damage before this is all said and done. But Phil trying to get away on his last legs there. Isn't gonna be killed just yet. It's just the chase down.
Berkio boy is in a pickle.
Oh yeah, it's the same thing. Bush also in a lot of trouble, does a lot of damage back. 3 members committed up there, find the answer, but in the meantime, Phil does go down. Demo's in a bit of trouble as well as he gets rooted up twice. Needs to find the elastic slingshot out, but passive getting popped means that's the end of the Blobby Boy.
God, if someone has that copy pasta where it's like, this is why I tune into Risen, and none of that sissy stuff. None of that dancing around, just blood, sweat, piss, and fighting all around. If anyone has that, please drop that in Twitch chat. That is very applicable.
Yeah, please link me, because I've yet to see a lot of copy pastas for Risen, but that sounds hilarious.
Yeah. I think that's a general Twitch copy pasta.
I'll take it,
I do see it in Risen a lot more than other amateur leagues. Although I tend to watch Risen a lot more because Risen Champs happens to be every Sunday at 7:45 p.m. EST. So if you're not watching it, I don't know why you aren't. Like, it's such a great show.
I like that.
It is the foster child of the big brain of Rando Joe, dancing hot dog for Risen. And we have a superstar cast and a superstar game lined up for this Sunday at 7:45 p.m. EST. So please tune in. Either way, though, something else that's coming up, not just Risen Champs, is this Baron in another 20 seconds. We weren't able to see that base correct open quite yet. However, though, a couple more Ender turrets taken down here by the side of the Plumbers Union, and they are sitting pretty fine now. It is still roughly about the same-ish gold lead they had when they got that Baron. That Baron was mostly to extend tempo control over the map, because we can see a lot of deep vision in that bottom side jungle. And then, of course, they were able to get a nice second dragon there. Of course, they kind of wish it was that sole point there so they could have the threat, but having the second one is nice, as the root does land, but Demozy should be fine here. Takes a lot of damage, but Zac passive, it heals for a lot, you know?
It does, and being able to bop out of there and heal up a little bit means that their Baron dance chances are not really decreased, and the side lane pressure is really what the dance is all about here for the side of Plumbers Union. They get themselves one more turret here, moving that gold lead a little bit further ahead, even without the Baron in their pockets, but we all see what might be going into their pockets next.
I don't know. Maybe it's a couple of Travy bucks. Either way, Bush, he is a little caught out here, but that's a level 17 Mordekaiser. There's a 3-level gap between him and the enemy jungler. 2-level gap between him and the enemy solo laners. Like, EXP gaps are so hard to come back from in League of Legends. I just hate it so much, especially as an AD carry where you get like the least amount of EXP possible. But this is the Dragon being started up.
And he's tanking it up too. The fight is started, but a beautiful Fate Seal finds his way into the backline, does PhD in mid lane, takes down the 2 carries, and pushed in 9-11, has some alone time with the Shen before taking him down. Phil trying to find the steal here, flash over the wall. Will find him, he actually gets the steal there, putting them at even dragons, but the game is anything but even as Plumbers Union find the ace onto Oof for the cost of nothing right now, and they're knocking on the inhibitor turret.
You will trade a singular dragon buff for a 5-for-0. This is going to be such an easy inhibitor picked up here, and maybe potentially the game here with death timers being somewhat long. However, though, 10 seconds until the bot laners are back up. Another 15-ish till Guyman's back up, so it's going to be a little bit of tight timing, but with that teleport coming out to save this canny minion, that tower's already falling. Here comes Shimmy. What can he do? There is the Lucid Singularity, but it's not going to do anything.
You can't do anything. Yeah, the Nexus will just fall here, and Plumbers Union take a commanding lead in game 1 here, and they walk out with the first victory of the semifinals. Can they make this the best of 5?
With that kind of performance, maybe, because it was very even all game, but it felt like Plumbers, they were always able to keep that slight edge on top of Oof the entire time, and that slight edge is what eventually enabled them to snowball this lead, to snowball into grabbing that free Baron after those 3 picks, to snowball PhD in the mid lane, to snowball just a singular one team fight around that dragon 30 minutes into just taking the entirety of the enemy base. Like, you got to be careful with what you give in League of Legends, and Oof, they kind of gave away too much here, I felt.
They did give away quite a bit, and I think that I really, when you say that, throw my mind back to the dragon that we saw, that Bard was able to zone off. It was the instant no contest, even knowing that the jungler was top here, and I mean, Oof did give away a lot. Plumbers Union also very good at taking. I felt like Demo's presence on the map really put Mordekaiser, tipped him all the way over the edge, gave PhD in mid lane a huge way to connect, and I want to see that Zac taken away. I want to see some sort of autonomy taken away from Plumbers Union if Oof want to come back in game 2, because it looks like with the amount of tools they have, they're proficient at using them and they can take games.
For sure, yeah, because Demo Z was able to set up a lot of the map this game. Sure, ending 6-4 and 6 is probably not as flashy as the solo laners or his carries, but it does kind of speak to how he was able to get the goods first team and set them up for success here. And that ultimately paid off here quite a bit, as we see, well, obviously ending in the dub, ending in your solo laners just being so far ahead, and then, of course, bot lane being kind of ahead. I mean, sure, they're down a little bit in kills, but Senna doesn't mind being down in kills, especially against Jhin. You outscale him. You got the Manamune going, you got the Souls going, and it's just a happy time.
And you got so much else to worry about as well. Who cares if you're down in kills if you can buff up 2 monsters that Jhin can't deal with? We saw in that last fight, PhD in mid lane basically deleted the bot lane of Oof instantly. I am super hyped coming off this for the next game, because you're right, Oof is absolutely favored going into the series. Plumbers Union showing that they can take them toe-to-toe, and we'll find out if Oof can bring it back in game 2 in just a few minutes.
Alright, I'm gonna be honest, that Oof draft was kind of shit. It wasn't god awful.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Risen Open Dominate semifinals here. We're heading into game 2 with myself, your favorite bouncing caster, Dia, joined by Goforino, the man with the most beautiful dog who doesn't shed, remarkably.
Well, she sheds just not all
Just
over the
only
entire place.
specifically, which is crazy to me. I don't...
There's gonna be some stray fluff balls, but
yeah,
it's.
yeah.
I know there's some dogs who just like coat an entire house in a baseline of fluff. However, though, we're looking to get into this game number 2 here after a fairly close game 1 until the end there, where we saw the side of the Plumbers Union were able to get that 5-0 at that dragon and just end the game off of that. I am curious to see how it changes this game because Plumbers Union definitely making a decent statement in that game number 1, but it's not the kind of statement where you're like, all right, oof, 100% out of this. They got absolutely smashed and they had no way to respond to that. And I'm curious to see how oof does adapt because I was talking with you about this a little bit during the break that I do feel like some of the oof's problems came from their draft. But speaking of draft, we're hopping into that pick and ban right now.
Yeah, let's do it. We already see basically the same things for both sides. And the other thing you'll notice if you are a returning viewer here is that it's the same sides as well. Oof and Plumbers Union have stuck to their sides. We're going to get Plumbers Union once again gracing the red side of the rift. And I think it's the same bands all the way through, with the exception of that Zac that has been, or that has replaced Malphite, and Ash not changing at all. So Zac really the only new face here.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how this sec bin is going to work out because I know a lot of teams, they will always have that gut punch reaction of like, oh man, we got smashed by this pick in the last game. Let's just immediately take that away. But there also has to be times where a team has to realize like, maybe the problem wasn't a specific pick, but just how we drafted / played as a whole. I don't know. Of course, we'll just see how this game goes as Oof just going to immediately take away that Senna from the enemy team, but that does mean the Shen slips through here for Plumbers Union, and Shen just such a power pick. We didn't really see it pop off last time around with just how hard he got smacked around early with those 2 solo kills and a gank to boot.
Yeah, and I think that grabbing the Shen so early on here, as well as the Ezreal, you're accepting essentially a farm lane, and Shen very similarly. I think Plumbers Union have put themselves in a similar position where I'm waiting for something that will bring them a pressure lane, and I'm not sure what it's going to be. Maybe it's a Shen flex. Maybe it is a hyper aggressive support to pair with the Ezreal, but something needs to break this open because right now the draft is starting off passive for Plumbers Union, and I feel like it's being answered that way by Oof right now.
And passive is kind of okay so far from the Plumbers Union. Like, since you know it's a Senna bot lane, drafting the Ezreal is fine since it's going to be fairly passive in the bot lane. Ezreal doesn't mind passive bot lanes because he does scale up fairly well once he hits that 2-item power spike. Of course, the Senna will outscale thanks to building a little bit of crit, thanks to just having more access to damage in that longer base range. Of course, Ezreal is able to match it to a fair amount thanks to the fact he doesn't have that super giga-long windup between autos. However, though, flying through the picks so far as the Volibear and Ryze really locked in here for the side of the Oofers.
Yeah, I like the Volibear Ryze. Not so much the Volibear, but the combination of the two is very powerful because they do have this run you down synergy, and Senna is going to pair relatively well with that. So I like the, what I want to call flow of the draft here for Oof. Their identity is very solid, and Plumbers Union have themselves a very similar thing. With Bard Ezreal, you're still looking to dodge around the edges of fights, and it's a different look from what we saw in game 1, but importantly, it is the same look throughout the draft.
And you know what? For the side of Plumbers Union, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, that is a very common trend in a lot of champion selects for winning teams. Like, it worked last time. Why not just try it again? So just kind of running it back somewhat. I mean, there definitely is a change this time around, and I'm curious to see what their last picks are for the jungle and mid lane here. Unless, of course, that Shen does flex to become a River Shen. Who knows? But there is a lot of wiggle room here in the Plumbers Union draft, which I do like. These are all very flexible picks, the Shen, the Ezreal, and the Bard. Whereas on the other side, the Senna, Volibear, and Ryze, not as flexible. I mean, they're not giga-focused into one specific role, But when you compare them to their oppositions on the enemy side, like the enemy side just has an extra step or two's worth of flexibility, let's say.
I like that point you bring up. Amumu not necessarily as flexible though, as all of a sudden whoosh, comes in a surprising pick there. Amumu not seen super often. Importantly, there is a change to him recently that will stun you instead of disarming you as well as rooting you, which will only really affect Rise right now, but will also affect Urgot if that's locked in.
Huh. So I made sure to check the chat to make sure that Amumu wasn't like a pro draft error. And no, this is a definitive pick here, this Amumu. And that is very interesting.
What?
And we have a couple of other interesting picks here because the Urgot locked in. Not something we typically see and does tend to struggle a bit into the Shen with the Gatling guns being completely negated by the Shen W. And we have a goddamn bait and there's a Vel'Koz. We've just been thrown a wrench here, Dia.
Oh, I'm all about this. Go forward! Oh my god,
so.
I love this bait here with the Senna. They get a passive lane for themselves, and they say, "You want a passive lane? Boom, Vayne, we win." Because she's gonna get a way freer lane than she would otherwise. This is amazing and puts a lot of pressure on Plumbers Union to make stuff happen early. The Vel'Koz, I'm a little bit confused about though.
So, the thought process, or what I assume is the thought process behind this Vel'Koz right here, Dia, is that one of the ways to beat Rise in lane is to just outrange him. Rise very medium ranged mage and kind of a little bit on the shorter range.
Mm-hmm.
And Vel'Koz, who has a very long range for a mage on basically almost all of his abilities, except for maybe the Tectonic Disruption E knockup, which is medium-ish range, he can hopefully just harass the ever-loving hell out of this Rise, not let this Rise play the game, and just kill this Rise before he wants to do anything. And then, of course, if we're looking at this in a more 5 versus 5 team fighting perspective, when you have the Curse of the Sad Mummy from the Amumu, or you have a Tempered Fate setup from the Bard, that is such a nasty Lifeform Disintegration Ray setup. When you also have the True Shot Barrage from the Ezreal coming out to also chip them, you can really just destroy the enemy team from a range here on the side of Plumbers Union if all the cards do line up, which is going to be interesting to see because when we look at the side of Oof here, they do have that Senna, the Dawning Shadow, great way to give that AoE shield to deal with the burst. Vayne able to tumble out very easily. And then, of course, a Rise with that Realm Worm can just warp the Volibear and the Urgot into the enemy backline and potentially absolutely destroy them.
Yeah, and right now I think that there's a lot of, like you say, potential. There's a lot of setup that can come out for Plumbers Union. But across the board, something that I want to draw attention to is that they're a little bit weaker. We talked about the first 3 picks being rather passive, and then the second 2 picks really have changed this draft to be more of a yes, we will fight you straight up. And if you see something like maybe Demo's not being on the same page as his carries or as his mid laner and ADC is maybe a better way to put it, depending on what roles they end up taking on. You're going to see a very disjointed team composition. Oof don't have that problem. Their comp goes together exceedingly well.
Yeah, because Oof, they definitely do have a cohesive composition here. They have an insane amount of damage between the Rise, between the Vayne. Urgot and Volibear, definitely no slouches either, and I'm curious to see how this does work out here for them. Of course, though, on the enemy team, Vel'Koz and Ezreal aren't slouches when it comes to the damage department either. Shen, I mean, we talked about it last game, he has that insane 1 versus 1 potential, even for a tank, and can potentially kill this Urgot in lane very easily until post 2 items ish. And then of course, I mean, Amumu here for Demo Z, like Amumu has insane base damages. He has the percentage health shred, he has the high base damages, and then of course his passive, which helps amp up magic damage from his teammates. And when take a look at his teammates here, Dia. Shen does a decentish amount of magic damage. Ezreal does a fair amount of magic damage for an ADC. And then Bard and Vel'Koz are like entirely magic damage here. So he is going to be amping up his teammates' damage a lot here. And Oof if they get hit by the potential full blast here of that Curse of the Sand Money, if they all get debuffed here by that Amumu passive, like they can be in a world of pain here.
Yeah, to me, it really is all about the Vel'Koz. You started talking about the Shen, the Ezreal, and yeah, that's true, but the Vel'Koz is where the synergy is at, and that's where I think that the last two picks for Plumbers Union do make sense, is in what we saw last game, and contextualizing that, the amount of attention that Demos was able to pay to the mid lane. If that happens here again, with that synergy of the Mumu passive as well as Vel'Koz, you're going to see a lot of pain coming down, especially onto somebody who's relatively short range like Rise. And it's about spreading that to the other lanes here. Phil is going to have a lot more autonomy. The jungler for Oof really can, with the Volibear, look to start things off a little bit earlier than the Kayn.
Yeah, because that's always one of the natural problems of Kane. That's why, as a caster, I have a bias against whenever a Kane is picked in a 5 versus 5 environment, because it you don't exactly have like a jungler with any sort of real prio or like prowess until he gets that evolution outside of like power farming. And now when you compare that to the Volibear, who has much better early ganking tools, I mean, sure, he's not the most insane ganker. He does have to run up to you. He does have that telegraph slow, and you can very easily just dip and dive away if you have a dash from that little bear paw stun of his. But that's a lot more than a base form Kane who comes in and just, hits you and is like, all right, I got some warps. Peace.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's really where I'm looking this game. I'm looking to see if Oof can start this game off on the right foot by getting Phil involved early, start to run down Plumbers Union and bring us to a series, or whether Plumbers Union will take us to that 2-0 mark right now and bring us then to the match point, because this got off to a strong start. We'll see if they can continue it, or like I said, if Oof can bring it back right after we get on to Summoner's Rift in just a moment. Welcome back to Open Dominate Semifinals, ladies and gents. I'm still Dia. I still got a Go For with me. We are
True.
considering showing Doggo, is what we were thinking about with the poll there. So we may get a little bit of a treat right now, and we might get an even better one. Oof, with a 5-man start into this bot side here. Urgot's lagging a little bit behind, but we'll catch up there on my own client as they make their way into the bot rush. See if anything comes of this.
And speaking of Urgot here, Guyman taking the lethal tempo on Urgot. What?
Does that synergize with? Is that a misclick? Do you think, or does that? It doesn't affect his W, right?
I don't think it affects W because W is fixed speed. It might interact. I know that because press the attack is very common on Urgot. And then you still see some Conqueror even after the nerfs from a while ago, but I want to say that this lethal tempo is a misclick here from Guy, man. I'm gonna quickly do some in-depth research, aka I'm gonna go to u.gg and look up, are pro players taking lethal tempo on Urgot? Because
All right, I'm down with some in-depth research here because it seems like we got time. Plumbers Union not falling for anything just yet, but I'm going to be talking for a while because they are invading at the moment, and Orchid the Parrot and Demos going to have to walk away from this. The stun does come down. Demos goes quite low here. Might he escape with his health? One more auto will do it, but he flashes away after the smite. So manages to live there. Bill also quite low, though. Bill has the smite if he wants to get away here. Aang, nice stun onto him. The ignite dropped as well. No kills to come in yet. Aang is burning down, but won't go down here. And Demos gets right back onto the buff as well. A ton of time wasted for Ruth.
And while that was all happening, I just went through u.gg and I didn't see a single lethal tempo Urgot, so I am going to say that this is a misclick. I am, of course, always willing to be proved wrong on the desk by players by showing me that something is in fact like definitely viable, but I do not see, at least on a surface level, how this works out for Urgot, unless if, like you said, maybe it helps out his Gatling gun. But either way, that was a very action-packed level 1 for not a lot of kills, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it's like sort of a net downside for Oof here. As little as it might be Volibear, with the nerfs that he had a few patches ago, doesn't have the strongest jungle clear anymore, and starting it off low and behind in time is going to mitigate a lot of the early impact that we'd expected to see.
Yeah, because that is, of course, like, one of the biggest things you do against Amumu, because everybody always says, like, Amumu is near impossible to play in pro, because the enemy jungler will just know how to ruin your life 3 ways until Sunday. But the enemy jungler is having similar health problems as you on the first clear. That's a bit of an issue. And Amumu will outscale the Volibear here, because Volibear does fall off in terms of damage, doesn't have the same tankiness steroids as most other tanks, just the flat health boost, if I'm not mistaken, from that ultimate, that Stormbringer. And, I mean, Demo Z on this Mumu, he's gonna have very strong damage throughout the game. He's, of course, thanks to that tantrum of his, the E, gonna be getting a nice steroid to his resist, which is gonna be extremely helpful against this enemy team comp. And the fact he's allowed to free scale right now, that is a scary thing. Of course, it does look like he is going to get the rebuffed here.
Yeah, despite that start as well, which is really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, Amumu, not the most red buff reliant jungler. That's going to matter most in terms of the EXP, but Phil, he is in the top lane bush. What can he do? He's going to dip and dive out.
Yeah, he's got that Spirit's Refuge, like you'd mentioned earlier, against the Urgot. Blocks a lot of the damage. Doesn't block the stun, but with something like a Shadow Dash, you're not going to complain too much, even if you do get chunked out.
Yeah, and thankfully, able to just Shadow Dash on out of that one, having a much better this time around here for a bush, because the fact he was able to go back and buy double longswords versus last time where he had to go back and start working immediately towards the Spectre's Cowl, but not having enough to even buy a Spectre's Cowl, kind of speaks magnitudes as perfect discourse. He is going to meet a mummy here, going to try and root him on up this Rise with that tier. Able to already do a huge chunk of damage, which is kind of amazing since Rise, of course, is kind of pictured more so as a scaling pick. Of course, though, Demos didn't mark the Aftershock there from what I saw, and also only sitting on the 35 base MR, so perfect discourse. Probably able to just muscle his way through with base damages alone, I'm guessing.
I want to actually contest that a bit. Their Aftershock was procced there, and he still did that much damage, which is even more impressive.
This is why as an 80 carry main I love Rise, because he is able to out DPS me.
Yeah, but at level 5, by the way, with a tier. So I just want to throw that, rub a little bit of salt in the wound there. And actually, the other thing that I've been wanting to bring up since we've been watching it so much is this bot lane that has also been a turnaround story, just like the Shen here, where Aang and Shimmy they're still on this poke lane, but they've managed to get a lot more done this time around. And Vayne having a pretty free lane right now.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like, sure, there isn't a tower play difference. Sure, it's literally a 2 CS difference, but Vayne, oh, never mind. Perfect Discourse gonna be chunked out, having to flash out. But going back to the bot lane here, we were bringing up, with Vayne, you are designed to lose lane in almost every circumstance, and Ezreal is like usually one of the few free lanes that you do have as Phil. He is hovering on the side here, not level 6 quite yet, and his mid lane is quite low without that flash, but let's see what he's able to make happen on the big old bear. A little bit of poke, it seems, as he just skedaddles on off to hibernate for winter, I guess.
And this is such an awkward position to be in as a jungler when you can't really gank a lane because they're too low, but also they really need the help because now Perfect Discourse has taken a terrible back because there's nothing to be done about it.
Yeah, and that is very rough here as this Rise, because Perfect Discourse is actually taking the cleanse this game instead of the very usual teleport we typically see on Rise, because Rise is a great side laner thanks to the fact that he is a great duelist. He is a little bit of a trade in the top lane. I don't think we're going to see a kill quite here.
No, and I mean, Shen's been doing quite well for himself as well. I feel like the Spirit's Refuges have been super on point here, blocking most of the damage from Guyman, and that's exactly what you want. Right now, Rise has arrived back in lane as well, and we're getting a little bit of a stale map state for the moment because no preemptive plays from the junglers. Phil not really doing anything with the early pressure, and Esports Demo's able to farm up, means that we can just sit back and relax for a bit.
Yeah, and Demo's actually going for the full tank movement this game. Oh, never mind. We're gonna get some
night Demos. He's in there with the level 6. Earl King should be able to take down Shimmy here. The nice condemn against the wall, though, will start to turn this around. Double teleport in here as well. Phil has no level 6, but Guyman has the level 7. He gets turned down over the wall.
Oh my God.
What? Goes over to PhD in mid lane. Nice turnaround there.
Disintegration.
Shimmy gonna fall as well. A double kill. Make it a triple for PhD in mid lane as he takes down not just Shimmy, not just Guyman, but Phil as well.
God, and this is, oh my God, that was just so brutal in the bot lane because it looked like Oof might have been able to turn it around somewhat there with that nice condemn. They're able to save their bot laner Shimmy there for a while longer. Stall out until Guyman teleported in. He had the fear beyond death as this Urgot, but instantly blown up as this Urgot, only sitting on a ruby crystal's worth of tankiness. That is just, you know, I don't know how to say it in a safer work way, but very bad. It's very bad for dealing with 4 enemy team nates. Either way, though, that's a huge dub with those 3 kills, including the first blood, including this Cloud Dragon. Like, Cloud Dragon is insane on this Plumbers Union composition, even a singular one. Like, Dia, I challenge you, take a look at any ultimate they have and tell me it does not benefit greatly from even just a singular Cloud Dragon here.
No, it's all incredible, and I want to say even more so for PhD. We already talked about it in Champ Select, but we were saying the game is going to be about him and how Demos can play around him. Right now, with 3 kills, Demos doesn't even need to play around you anymore. You're a monster. You got 10% CDR on your ultimate. Vel'Koz might be able to just steamroll not only his lane, but maybe even somebody else's at this point.
Yeah, and going back to Demos, this was a point I wanted to bring up before that massive, huge team fight dub come out. I'm a little bit surprised at the Cinderhole coming out, because it definitely is a good I'm on a Mumu, but from what I at least know, even the tank of Mumus, oh, okay, that's a solid kill.
As soon as I saw him go in there, I was like, why? It's so clear that Shen has the damage.
This is what happens when Shen does not get put 0-2 pre-6 and forced to not buy Tiamat first, but I guess I can just keep continuing with my point about Amumu. But typically in Amumu, just due to his passive and how much insane base damage he has, Oh, never
Well,
mind.
normally he's not getting flashed on, as well as rifted on, but is going to get a lot of time bought with the shield. He goes right back into the perfect discourse because Bush has joined him as well. Perfect should be taken down here. PhD in mid lane, huge chunk across with the disintegration ray, but doesn't even get to pick up that kill as Bush grabs another one for himself. 2-0 in the top lane, 3-0 in the mid lane. The solo lanes are starting to come apart at the seams here for bot lane, the only good news story.
This is rule number 1 when you face a Shen composition, Dia. Like, if it's past 6 and you go in, you will always assume there is a 500 to 1000 health shield on whoever the hell you're trying to burst, and a extra member just flying in from the enemy team. Like, you just got to factor that in, and it looks like not putting all the pieces together, not getting their math degree here. As a math major with the stats minor myself, I'm a little disappointed, as that's a good taunt coming up, but that is a good flip coming out.
And it's due to that Bush really doesn't have to worry about Guyman at all. This is an irrelevant matchup at this point. Shen is steamrolling this until further notice, until 1 or 2 items come in for this Urgot. I want to say maybe even 3. This is going to be the story where Urgot is getting shoved in now. Trying to turn that around is he, but so much return damage and the negation of Guyman's autos completely. In mid lane. He's quite low. Gonna have to flash. Ooh, that was sweaty.
Oh,
He's trying to turn it around. The perfect discourse. He has to be careful as well. You cannot count Vel'Koz out this early.
And that is Vel'Koz's advantage there. Like, sure, PhD in the mid lane did have to blow his flash there, and Perfect Discourse does still have his flash, but even at that far of a range, we're talking like miles, like mountains, canyons here, Dia. He's still able to nearly kill this Rise. And Perfect Discourse does not look like he's going for the slightly more typical Rise build of Tier and Terrell, but there's the bandage toss, the alley-oop, as I like to call it. But it's just going to be the salty smite as a little bit of damage going down.
I feel that. I've been playing a lot of...
Run back!
Wait, he's still there? Oh, unlucky. I believed.
Because the move, like, people meme about Morgana Bind and Nautilus Hook. Amumu bandage toss is up there.
It really is in terms of single target CCs, and I think it's so much to do with the fact that it can be a little bit hard to hit, especially with what we just saw there, Guyman being able to sidestep it twice. Does end when it ends. You know, it ain't one of those luck
no.
that ends.
Okay. No. I meant as in, it has a hitbox and it has a visual indicator that are very different. Never mind that. There's a fight. There's a fight.
Oh yeah, PhD in mid lane could be going down here. Nice Amumu to stall that out though. Bill cannot finish off the kill, but you know who can? It is PhD and Demos as they turn that right back around. Another 2 kills in the pocket. And PhD in mid lane, 4-0-2 right now. He really is looking like he's got a PhD in the mid lane with the way the past 2 games have gone. 0-7 on the scoreboard, a 3K gold lead for Plumbers Union.
And I mean, just say it with me, Dia. When you fight against a Shen and it's after level 6, you always account for an extra member.
You've got to, and it feels like Oof are almost playing with disrespect at this point when they go for those plays.
They're definitely going for the oof plays here, but they're the ones getting a little bit oofed here. And going back to your point about PhD in the mid lane, like 4-0-2 now on the Vel'Koz. Had an amazing time last time around with the Yone. And both times, Plumbers Union saved R5, so the literal last pick for him, so he can get the best matchup he wants in that mid lane here. And both times around so far, it looks like it's paying off here. So I'm curious about next game here. If Plumbers Union do have to go to the blue side here, they don't have that literal last pick. They don't have the Golden Boy Superstar counter pick coming out. Is that going to affect their gameplay in here? Because it looks like PhD in the mid lane is just such a crucial factor to their hashtag Fortnite dubs.
Yeah, and right now, I think, you know, we're not saying the game is over, but even if this game isn't over, if we see Oof able to turn this around, what we're talking about is that ability to recognize where Plumbers Union had a way into the game. And right now, he is their way into the game. And I think it's really good of you to bring that up, right? Looking forward towards next game. How do you solve this problem? And can Plumbers Union capitalize if it's shut down?
Yeah, and it's just going to be so hard just due to the natural range of this Fel cause. Due to the fact that Phil and Guy, they don't have like true engage. Like when I say true engage, I mean like a move with bandage tosh, which is like immediate. They have intermediate engage where they have to run at you. They have to go through the gauntlet, so to speak. And when you're having to go through the gauntlet, it makes your life so much harder when you're eating so much damage. Perky the Parrot can CC. Never mind that. There's a...
Yeah, that Realm Warp, we were talking about it earlier. PhD in mid lane, not going to get the assist as the shutdown will go over to Phil, and Demos might fall as well as he's caught between a rock and a hard place. Gets taken out by Perfect Discourse. Perky the Parrot gets one inside the Temper Fate, but is going to have to get the heck out of dodge right here, as he doesn't want to play the same game as his jungler was just forced to.
And there's one exception to the golden rule, and that's called just killing them anyways, even through that shield. That is a huge double pick up there. I'm gonna take a quick look at the chat log here to see who got that shutdown. And okay, it was actually the Volibear here for Phil who was able to get that giant shutdown onto the Vel'Koz from PhD in the mid lane, but still, those are two huge kills going over. It's able to grab you tempo. It's able to grab you this Rift Herald. Phil, he's in a bit of trouble though, because Bush, he's got 3 levels. He's got a dream.
PhD might just go down again, though. Doesn't respect the Rise, and if Rise is able to get on top, the story is over. Bush trying to find an extra kill here. Is eating a lot of damage. Flashes away, but the fear beyond death will pull him right back in. Gets another kill for Oof here, and they're starting to turn this around slowly but surely. Perky the Parrot finds the stun. Another one going to follow up from Demo as well. Doesn't even use the bandage toss, just walks it in with Earl King. Gets a kill, and they might even get a tower here. Responded to on the bot side by Angus. He gets himself the first tower of the game.
So this is actually very big here. The fact that that was a solo first tower going over to Aang, it's going to help him immensely getting to that late game power spike. Not to mention there's now 2 kills on this Rise, which is very insanely scary. He scales insanely well too, but on the opposite, I mean, it's still an even trade in kills. It's still an even trade in turrets. Even if you take away that first tower bonus, you're trading a bot lane outer for a mid lane outer. And mid lane outer is one of the most crucial turrets in the game when it comes to opening up the map. Like, basically, we can see on the map, I hope my explanation does it justice to Caddy, but the little V lanes between Raptors and Wolves, that just opens up immediately. It gives you very easy access to the enemy's red buff and blue buff. And that can mean a lot when it comes to dropping down vision, generating picks, and of course setting up for any dragons and or barons here. Like, it has a lot of repercussions, so you're gonna have to make that gold you earned worth it.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, Vayne hasn't been involved in anything yet. Aang just now showing his face in the mid lane that's really the place where you want to be able to capitalize on income. Perfect Discourse, though, going to be forced to flash away. One less summoner for the side of Oof to work with, and that's especially big on somebody like Rise who needs to close that gap around the dragon fight that may be happening soon.
Yeah, especially when this Rise doesn't have the teleport. It just matters all the much more, as that's a pretty good trade in the top lane now that Guyman has the Black Cleaver on this Urgot. Can dish out a little bit more damage, really wants that, what I assume is going to be the Death Stance next on this Urgot to really just sustain through this Shen damage, but we are now on Soul Point here for the side of Plumbers Union, and we actually haven't been focusing on that a lot here, Dia, which is interesting because I can't speak for you, but especially for me and a lot of the other casters I know, we tend to very hyper focus on dragons and like soul points and whatnot, but we're 20 minutes into the game and it kind of feels like this dragon soul point just kind of came out of nowhere, and this is an ocean soul, the most powerful soul in the game.
Yeah, and I feel like it's because right now the game has been about mid lane, and it's only recently that that became a problem that was even touchable for Oof. Right now, they've got to deal with this alternate win condition that you're talking about, which is that Ocean Soul, because
Here
if they
comes
get that,
Philly.
it's another way to win. Guyman, though, very, very low. Bush tries to dash after him. Fear Beyond
no!
Death gonna pull him right back in. That's so unfortunate. Demo's trying to capitalize on the Volibear in the top lane by showing in the bot lane, but they're giving over this Rift Herald as well. Can they get a turret in trade?
This has to be turret in trade. Yeah.
Phil? Okay.
Okay.
I was worried. I was worried.
I was a little bit worried too, but it's a tower against a Volibear who has half an armor item and a Cinder Hulk, so it's not going to kill him anytime soon. I'm speaking from experience here.
Unlucky. That sounds like painful experience.
I've been an 80 carry main since season 4. Like at this point, I'm just so numb to the experience.
Nothing can hurt you anymore.
There's a reason why I have a wicked monotone on desk. It's not because of my vocal cords, no. It's because I've mained 80 carry for 6 godforsaken years. And all I have to show for it is switching over from Summoner's Rift to ARAM as Guyman. He's gonna find a Bard here, has 3 levels, should win that 1v1, but of course the Bard gonna be able to skedaddle on out.
Actually, I think another big part of this, like you started to mention the levels that we had, don't see any huge level disparities open up like they did with the Mordekaiser last time. It is just the items, as they might be enough to take down Guy, or at least chunk him out significantly. PhD in a mid lane with the double needlessly large rods is especially needlessly large, and he gets a nice chunk out there. Once he completes that Rabadons, that's going to be massive.
Yeah, and this is actually a bit of a build we've been seeing on more and more mid laners lately. Even after they finish the Lost Chapter item, which gives 20% CDR, we've been seeing more and more mid lane AP mages specifically grab a Fiendish Codex just for that extra CDR, which is so crucial, especially in a lot of these mid lane control mages, a lot of these mid lane burst mages, and then go towards that death cap afterwards. They don't complete that Fiendish Codex until maybe items 3 or 4, depending on whether or not they want to Void Staff third.
Play in the bot lane.
And it is very nice as, yeah, Bush, he is a little bit caught out here. Let's see if he can pay for his crimes as he's going to dodge one thing.
Yeah, nice Shadow Dash. Has demos with him as well. They could turn this around. Nice bandage toss. Will force the cleanse out of Perfect Discourse. Senna ultimate to help out. Will buy a little bit more time for Oof. PhD in mid lane has found himself a nasty teleport.
The Realm Warp.
Wrong way. Nice Realm Warp. Will bring everybody in melee range of the Vel'Koz once again. Gets the stand unit on top of him for the dissuasion. A turret will fall in the meantime. Bill gets taken down though. And now PhD is going to be in a lot of trouble. Finds Chimmy, but buys a little bit of space for the blast zone. Chimmy should go down here. He's caught in no man's land. Bush will manage to find the taunt there. Aang, though, is invisible up till now. Gets booted away from PhD as he doesn't find the condemn. PhD gets taken down, but it is the Aang show at the moment. Finds the last auto onto the Shen. Esports Demos has shown back up, but this is way too strong of a vein to contest.
God, and it looked so good there at the start for the side of the Plumbers Union, but finally this Vayne, who's been sitting in these solo lanes just for the longest time, quietly farming up, quietly becoming a menace, finally shows up after all these cooldowns are blown. After all these enemy team members are kind of low and don't have any summoners to escape you, that's an easy cleanup. That's 1-0-1 now on this Vayne, working towards that Rage Blade. Like, I don't give a root and toot and darndest how tanky Demozy, how tanky Bush get on their respective picks. Earl, if you want to, grab an okay, he already grabbed an Iceborne, but grab an Iceborne if you want with Ezreal. This Vayne's gonna shred through literally anyone, especially once that Ginsu gets stacked up. And that Ginsu's not too far out.
No, and it's going to be stacked up mainly via these team fights. I need to see a team fight right here for this dragon. Bush going to be chunked a little bit here. Isn't too big because it is just on the Shen, but the route onto PhD in mid lane, they've got a lot of poke here for Plumbers Union.
Let's see how it works out, because there's the True Shot Barrage. Look for the Lifeform Disintegration Ray before the fight even starts here, because you can just look to take him out of the fight. Yeah, just look at that. This is a Death Cat Vel'Koz here with that fully completed Seraph with this 30% CDR. I'm going to take a quick look to see. Yes, he does have Transcendence, so this is a 40% CDR Vel'Koz. he can just pelt people away if they don't get within range. And you see what happens when they get in range, as Perfect Discourse able to get that. Here comes the teleport. I think we have a fight on our hands.
Oh yeah, Dragon is started. Nobody knew that Phil was in the pit until right now, and he's already chunking out your Amumu. No ultimate to come out just yet. Demos tries to find one. Will catch multiple though as the disintegration lay melts everyone. Perfect Discourse forced to burn the Realm Warp for the escape and gets shut down even before that. Perk the Parrot finds the last auto onto the Senna, and the ace happens almost instantly, as not only do Plumbers Union find themselves the Dragon, the Soul, but the ace as well.
Oh, I'm sorry for demonetizing you, Risen Esports, but holy shit, that fight. Put it on a tapestry, call up Leonardo da Vinci, like, take down the Mona Lisa. Who gives a flying shit about a woman smiling? We just saw perfection in a team fight there. That is now 5-1. They get the Ocean Soul here. They're gonna get the Baron here. This is gonna be such a commanding lead coming out here for the Plumbers Union. We saw what happened last time they were able to get Baron. They were able to extend control over the map. Not necessarily the gold lead, but the map in terms of just objectives, in terms of towers, in terms of vision. And I'm looking towards that once again. Now that they have, I mean, they have a 5k gold lead after they grab the Baron. Keep in mind, last time they grabbed the Baron in last game, they came out of it with a little under 4k and barely extended it. So now with the Ocean Soul already, Plumbers Union, they can look to really, really extend this. And before we go on with this, just a quick shout outs to Omega Gaming Esports for the raid. Dropping the raid as soon as they dropped a fatty cuss word on stream. I'm sorry for any potential viewers who do not like me saying the more vulgar form of poop. But either way, that was a very exciting fight, Dia.
Yeah, and right now I think we're only going to be getting more of it because, like you said, they have the Baron right now, and to be able to utilize that, you got to spread out a little bit. But the comp of Plumbers Union is so focused on grouping up right now, they might just go for some dives. Ang, walking up a little bit too far, my friend. You do not want to be there. Perky the Parrot's going to pick that one up, but that was a foregone conclusion right there.
Did Ang have internet issues? Did he just tab out? Like, because he didn't even react when he walked into range of Earl King.
That was that was a little bit of unfortunate timing. Phil trying to capitalize on this top lane. It's also being pushed in, but the problems abound here for Plumbers Union. Mid lane suffering mightily. Earl King finds another nice chunk here as another tower will fall in the bot lane. Guyman almost taken down under tower as Bush flashes the ultimate from the Urgot, makes sure not to be feared beyond his own demise, and this should be mid lane tower falling as well. Are you going to lose both towers here, my guys?
If they do, that's kind of a little bit of a death sentence here, because this gold lead has started to spiral out of control. If they get 2 inhibs here,
that's 1.
This is Doomsday scenario. If they get 3, that's Giga Doomsday scenarios. There's a solo kill in the top lane coming out. All these people trying to save the spot lane inhibitor, not able to do a Pickle Rick in the world, as look at this poke coming out from the
engage.
From the Ezreal.
Something. Perfect Discourse. The nice double ultimate will burn the cleanse again, but there is the death ray over 2 members, takes both of them down, and that's the end of the game here. Ang trying to get away. The last auto won't finish him off, but the Nexus towers are being taken down. Earl King gets flipped in. Doesn't even matter to him. He shifts forward onto the main to find the last kill for her. Then Shimmy just sitting in the fountain, trying to collect those last souls, trying to boost up the stats, because that's all you're gonna get as Plumbers Union take themselves to 2-0 in the semifinals.
This is just astounding, because this was a very heavily favored OOF matchup going in. They were the dominant team in basically most aspects, and while we did definitely not count Plumbers Union entirely out, they definitely were considered the underdog going into this. But now 2-0 here. Sure, both games have been relatively close for the most part until the ending moments, but they've been able to grab leads. They've been able to hold up the tempo. They've been able to close games after they get important objectives. And honestly, oof, they're looking maybe a little bit lost here, because I was wanting to see a change in the draft, and there definitely were some changes in the draft here, but what fell apart here? Was it just a comp difference since you have the Urgot and Volibear having to run into all this disengage? Was it just the ganking diff coming out from Demos who is able to get that free farm? Because everyone knows, like, oh man, a Mumu early game, you just counter juggle him, force him out of the jungle, you just kill him or force him out. Like, but this Mumu wasn't forced out. This Mumu wasn't killed. He was able to free farm up, able to just get to this scaling point where he's this Giga Tank, able to go in with all the CDR, start off any fight he wants with any whim he so desires, and it's just been coming to fruition here so far for the Plumbers Union, even if it has been close to you.
Yeah, it's been a game about the jungle priority, and we saw and we talked about the Volibear being picked up and saying maybe this will do something. It didn't really feel like Phil was able to execute on that. Maybe it's due to the start, but who's to say? Right now, the problem for me that needs to be shut down is this mid lane, because all of the jungle pressure that Plumbers Union are getting is going into the mid lane. We saw it last game. We saw it a little bit in the top during game one, but this game wasn't really as big of a focal point. But the mid lane is the problem that needs to be solved here. We need Oof to be able to find a way to attack that lane, because they've clearly got a strong laner. We see Perfect Discourse be able to execute at the level that you're expecting your mid laner to execute in these team fights, but just not able to really find an overarching victory point in that, even with the realm warps that they were trying to make happen.
For sure, and I'm curious because Oof should have side selection in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to, they can switch up the sides since it has been the same sides here for both games so far. And now, if Oof so pleases, they can grab the red side. They can grab that holy matrimony R5 last pick, the counter pick that many teams use to give advantage to their solo laners for the most part. That is the main thing I'm going to be looking at here. What is the side selection? And if Oof happens to be on the red side this time around, like, what is going to be the priority here for the mid lane? Since PhD in the mid lane has definitely been a crucial factor here in both dubs. Demos has been that crucial factor in both dubs here. So, what do you do?
Yeah, we'll have to see if they end up taking that side selection. I think that I'd really like to see if they grab themselves the red side or able to use that counter pick. There's only one way to find out whether they'll do it, though, and that's by getting us into the third game of the night. This could be the end for Plumbers Union here if they grab themselves that last game win. But oof, want to make this a series. Can they do it? We'll find out right after we get back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is game 3 over here at the Risen Open Dominate. I'm still Dia. I'm still joined by Go4 here, and the only real difference that we got before we head into the pro draft is the fact that we've swapped sides, and it could be a bigger difference than some might think.
That's true, and it could be massive. We're talking about this. Just quickly before she goes under the bed, since stream has
Mhm.
passed, I will move my cam. You'll see a slightly messy room. You'll see
God
a
bless.
little Zuki. That is Zuki stream. She is currently
Oh.
looking to the right, so we're gonna call that a hashtag blue side prediction win.
Okay,
But
yes, blue side prediction. I like it. I like it. Swain and Zillion already taken away for the blue side. They're thinking
oh,
about their
we're
third
getting her on the
bid,
bed.
Oh,
We're
and
getting her on the
Zoe.
bed.
The bed, yes. Right now,
I'm gonna
since we're
move my
not
cam
taking
so
a
we
look
can see
at
it
the
on
pick
stream.
fan just yet, I'm just trying to catch us up here. We got the Echo Hecarim and Bard taken away, as well as the Zoe, Swain, and Zillion. No Zach ban this time, eh?
Interesting, yeah, but we were kind of pointing out that we think a bit of the issue was maybe the fact that they were able to get that priority pick in the last slot for PhD in the mid lane, and this time, now that the sides are swapped, it might be different. Now that Zuki is on the bed and not under the bed, maybe it's going to be looking a little bit different here for Oof. Zuki did actually guest star on Risen last week for the Risen Champ stream. Sadly,
Okay.
her prediction was wrong. Granted, I do not expect a dog to know the intricacies of macro and matchup selection. However, though, we are flying through this draft here with Ezreal as the blue side first pick. That is interesting.
It is interesting, especially when you're giving over the Ashe that you've banned away already. You give over Ashe Alistair, pretty strong lane as well, and I wonder what the game plan is here for Plumbers Union. Are they trying to pick Scar? How dare you?
Hey, he started the news KDA videos, the sound system.
Oh, okay. Skarner is Lulu. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, I'm actually super anti-Skarner, so I'm really happy that that's not a Skarner. Oh, okay. We get a Lulu here. Ezreal Lulu, way better lane.
Yeah, as I'm gonna be honest though, Dia.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're supposed to be positive on desk, but
yeah,
I hate teams with every fiber of my body that, with blue side first pick, decide to grab Ezreal. I believe Ezreal is a little bit of a sinner's pick, to put it in Ellis terms. Because he's definitely still good. He's definitely still playable. I just think way too many teams have resulted to him as comfort food. Like, your grandma's homemade mac and cheese, like, every once in a while is fine, but if your diet is entirely that, well, it's probably not going to work out in the long run, as we're going to have a Rek'Sai versus Skarner matchup here. Battle of the Perps, as we have one Void Queen and one Bracken
it's Lulu.
What?
It's Lulu. It's not Skarner. It's Lulu.
I finally get
remember?
dug on stream, and ProDraft still decides to not cooperate.
Yeah, but we do have a Zach.
Juki can overpower ProDraft. Yes.
We do have a Zach this time. Rek'Sai as well as Zach here is going to be the matchup of the night, and Rise already banned away. Vel'Koz taken away as Oof. Do not want to see the run back of that. Remember, Plumbers Union don't get that final counter pick in the mid lane.
And I'm curious to see what happens here, because they are going to be having to make the first move here.
Did we get Yonde again?
I'm sorry. Plumbers Union is going to be having to make the first move here in the mid lane, so they are going to be having to do something blind here. One thing, if we wanted to potentially nitpick the draft here, is you could have done a potential mid lane flex pick early on before the first ban phase here for Plumbers Union, just so you have a potential wrench to throw the way of Oof. Of course, though, that's not going to be the case here with Ezreal, Lulu, and Zach. I mean, Lulu solo lane has been popping up somewhat and was even nerfed this patch, but I don't think we're going to be seeing it here, especially after the nerf. So let's see what happens here, because Oof, they do now have that mid lane counter pick we've been hyping up so much, and I'm curious to see if they do go with it, and it does look like that, as they have the Alistar Rek'Sai Orin. That is definitely a lot of beef and a lot of engage here on the front line.
Yeah, and I think if you're a plumbers union, just got to lock in something that's universally strong with your composition. I wouldn't mind something like a Yasuo or a Yone here, given the prevalence of the, I want to say, buff ups that you have. The only problem is that you're going to get locked up rather easily. Shen going to be a pretty safe pick in the top lane against Ornn, and now we got 30 seconds to decide what leap of faith they're going to take.
That was the old Pantheon ultimate name, if I believe. But yeah, they're definitely running out the clock here. And Plumbers Union, they're having to decide, knowing that there is a strong chance of it getting counter picked. And if you want to pick that is hard to counter pick, definitely lock in that Orianna, because you have the Wombo combo set up. You have the Zac delivery, which is one of the easiest deliveries in League of Legends when it comes to an Orianna ball setup. You do also have the Shen going in here, so there is a lot of potential here for a little bit of a mini Wombo combo. It's not going to be that 3k Elo Shockwave.
Yes, Orianna is Silas.
I mean, God, I love Pro Jeff so much with every fiber of my body.
Right now. There's this caster that I always cast with who needs Silas lock-ins into Alistar because he thinks, Unbreakable Will, Silas, absolutely OP. We got to get him on board here. Is going to be countered by the Ahri, though, that isn't being rectified in the client here. So, I want to get your opinion on that matchup, because Ahri, not my favorite.
I said this before, and I'll say it again. I haven't said it before in cast, but Ahri is the assassin with no damage, which is really weird to say when you call her an assassin. I know she is a little bit of an assassin kiting mage hybrid, but her kit is still very assassination orientated, but she doesn't really have a lot of the oomph other assassins have outside of the charm bonus damage. And when you're considering that you're going to be against that Silas, who will eventually reach a breaking point where he's definitely not unkillable, but definitely not one-shottable. Because Silas, when they changed him several patches ago, they made him to be a little bit more of a scaling counter pick to mages. He will have definitely some nice MR per level. He'll, assuming that it is going to be the fleet of footwork with Qmax, he's going to have that nice base sustain in lane. And Ahri is going to be having to dodge out at any potential upsuns and upducks here. So it's going to be a little bit tricky here for this Ahri. Definitely a hashtag killable situation, but when you look at the rest of the team here, like that's coming out for Plumbers Union, like Ezreal can notoriously be a hard 80 carry to kill, just due to the fact that Arcane Shift, his E blink, is really bufferable. It is one of the most piss easy abilities in League when it comes to buffering stuff. Like, it is so easy to buffer even a Blitzcrank or Nautilus hook with it. And the same will apply to the Ahri Charm here. That, and if you do dive in solo here, you are having to contend with a potential Shan Stand United here. And when you're talking about the hashtag assassin with no damage, even if you are able to kill this Ezreal, well, it's going to be hard to crack through that shield. And then that's not even accounting for Lulu. Like, I could ask any assassin main in League of Legends what their most hated champion to face up against is. That isn't like lane matchup specific. All of them will say Lulu. Lulu is one of the most anti-assassin picks you can ever draft in League of Legends, thanks to her shields, thanks to overgrowth, and then of course the point and click polymorph.
Yeah, that said, not a whole lot of assassins outside of the Ahri here on Oof, and I think that the comp for me is a lot about these knockups. The fact that they have Ornn, Rek'Sai, and Alistar is going to help keep a lot of folks off of Ahri and Ashe, and I feel like Ahri is going to be fulfilling, weirdly, more of a consistent damage role.
Definitely, yeah, because a lot of ours, they do gravitate towards the hashtag, I like to call it pocket sand, the glacial augment build, because She does have that insane utility. If you're able to slow people down, it really lives up to her kiting fantasy, and it is really hard to get onto that fox. Even if you are a little born hunter, yes. Yes, you like hunting foxes. But even if you are a born hunter like this little fluff ball over here, it is kind of hard to get through Glacial Augment slow, even if you are a fast little runner. Yes.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
it can be hard, and I'm assuming we are going to be seeing that more utility orientated RE build with that Glacial Augment this game, especially since there is going to be the Zac and the Shen, which are extremely hard to burst. And I already pointed out the other multitudes of reasons. The Silas and Soul lanes will have a bit of an easy-ish time surviving once it comes to like post 2.5 ish items in terms of that point of the game. And then, of course, Ezreal with the Arcane Shift and Lou with the Polymorph. So having the slow from Glacial Augment against this comp can actually be a royal pain in the ass, even though they do have the Slingshot for easy backline access and the Standing 9 for easy backline access. You're still slowing them for that massive amount in an AoE cone, and that can set up your Ashe for that massive DPS. It can set up the Alistar here for that giant headbutt pulverize. It can set up that Ornn for that, 5-man Ornn horn.
Oh, is that it? Is that or maybe did you cut out? Is that it?
No. It isn't Discord message.
All right, there we go. I wanted to ask you because of what you've just talked about with the denial of access to the backline, but also the strong composition of Plumbers Union, who it is that you favor going into this potentially last match.
I'm kind of liking the Plumbers Union composition a little bit more here, thanks to the Ezreal, thanks to the Silas. Like, I think those picks are really going to scale well here and do well into the enemy team composition. Oof's composition, I don't think this is a very clear-cut loss for them by any means. They definitely have a chance, but I feel like it's going to be a slight-ish uphill battle for them when it comes to the damage department. And I think Phil is going to have to kind of pop off on this Rex side to really be able to one-shot Earl King on the back line and avoid Perky the Parrot. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. Suki, do you favor anyone? Huh? You favor anyone? All right, my dog does not favor anyone except for just laying down on the bed a little bit more. So we at least have one neutral opinion here on the desk.
Yeah, I tell you what I'm favoring. I'm favoring Silas getting Alistar's ult. That's what I'm all about here. We finally got Fury in the chat, and I want to be able to see this glorious, unkillable Silas pop off. So hoping for at least one of those as we get into game 3. Like we said, potentially the final game of the series. Plumbers Union has been taking it to Oof. Can they turn it around this game, or will they fall to the Plumbers Union that is slowly, or I want to not even slowly, quickly on the rise? We'll find out right after we get onto the Rift. Welcome back to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Plumbers Union facing off against Oof in a very, very stressful match for Oof, you got to imagine, but they finally got themselves that Ashe. They finally got the mid lane counter pick. Can they make it work?
Let's see, because it's definitely going to be an interesting one here. The Ahri, a very uncommon pick, to say the least, especially in this meta with the mid laners, where a lot are a little bit more carry orientated. Ahri definitely falls into the category of roam orientated, which is certainly a suitable thing for mid laners here, but will she be able to stand up in the side lane against the Sylas is my big question, because you won't have the teleport here. You're relying on this ignite here, so perfect discourse is going to have a perfect laning phase as Peachy in the mid lane. Going to find out Philly old boy here. Going to chunk him out for a little bit here, but chunk will just be the only bite that's taken out. Not quite chumped.
Yeah, and if we can see a side lane performance, I like what you had said there with PhD being able to take on Perfect Discord. If we can see a side lane performance like Bush had last game, being able to absolutely dominate what looked like a pretty even matchup, I think that we see another side lane play that Plumbers Union actually looked very comfortable on in game one.
Sure, and thing is though, Dia, this is game number 3. We do have 2 games worth of context going into this, 2 games of mental difference coming into the, okay, difference, not the word to be saying, but mental conditioning, I should say, because this is something I do always bring up in these longer series, the best of 5s. Like, the long game mental is a huge factor, because best of 5s, they can go for hours on end, and whichever team can have the mental edge for lasting out to tough out through all the difficulties one can face in these best of 5s, to be able to overcome that and just mental reset for the next game is absolutely massive. So that's definitely something we should be looking at Oof here for. Like, this is a new game, new you. They literally have to win this game or their playoff dreams are out.
And until this point, right, they've been a dominant team. I'm sure that they have that in them. Right now, it's going to be, like you say, about regaining that. Ang finally on his comfort pick is a big upside for me. It's been banned away by Plumbers Union so much, and I want to see the AD carry that we saw so much invested in terms of the side lane last game be able to succeed now on a pick that should be able to turn games. Shimmy looking to turn this bot lane around, though. Goes forward, finds a lot of damage returning onto him, though, and Bush looking very comfortable up in this side lane. It is, so far, a success story for Plumbers Union.
So far, I mean, it's obviously 3 minutes into the game, very hard to set a narrative when it is literally even in gold, so that is, like, always one of the themier things as casters in these first few minutes. Like, oh, never mind that, we're gonna get some action. There's the flash coming out. We could have seen a potential advantage. Bush gonna be able to dash on out that taunt, it seems.
Yeah, a nice secure of the Scum Crabs using Perfect Discourse's wave clear to be able to contest that with Phil, who is on an even more aggressive jungler than we saw him on last time. Perky gonna be taking a little bit of a chunk here, as Phil still hanging out around this top side, is spotted on a ward, and moreover by Demos, who wants to be able to protect his top laner.
And it's a little bit interesting. I mean, Demos this entire series has definitely been having an upper side map focus when it comes to ganking. But we've typically seen a more focus traditionally towards the mid lane here for PhD in the mid lane, and a lot of the ganks coming on the top lane for Bush were usually either to consolidate a lead or just help a homie out and, you know, make sure he's not going to be between rock and a hard place here, because no 127 hours here in Risen. Hopefully not. My vocal cords would be boom if I casted for 127 hours straight. I don't know about you, but I'd assume it's a little bit worse as a play-by-play.
It does take its toll. Right now, I mean, I feel like this 3-game series has been paced pretty well, though. I feel like both the teams haven't been just fighting mindlessly the whole time, which has really helped me out.
That definitely helps out, although maybe not so much for your vocal cords. It is a little bit of a 50-50 for play-by-plays, I know. Some are like, yeah, man, I love the constant action, and some are like, I mean, I enjoy casting this, but oh my god, my vocal cords will hate me tomorrow. of course, there is no Risen Open Dominate semifinals tomorrow, so hopefully your vocal cords have a little bit of a break. I don't know how busy your schedule is. I mean, some people do have very busy schedules. Others are like, I will sim for a singular league. If you're like me, well, okay, not a singular league, but
tomorrow I'm watching Worlds. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to sleep tonight. I'm watching the VOD tomorrow. I'm literally not on Twitter tomorrow until I watch the VODs.
don't go on Discord or Reddit either.
Just avoid everything.
Like, set a firewall that blocks everything except for watchlol.esports.com.
Yeah.
I guess something fun for you guys in the chat is, I guess, put down, who do you have in your pick'ems to win the grand finals? I put down Damwon Gaming because I felt like they have a little bit of an edge, but speaking of edge, Perfect Discourse is level 6 here. There's the dash, there's the charm.
Ooh, lands the charm out of the tower as well. Chimmy threatening that pulverize is going to force the flash out of Perky the Parrot as well. Nice roam out of Ari, moving around the map very well with Phil.
And that is the power, of course, of that level 6 Ari. Now, imagine once Perfect Discourse has the GLP, as I like to call it, the pocket sand here. For those of you who know that, oh god, King of the Hill clip, yeah. I just love that clip so much, and it reminds me so much of the GLP active. Because you just do a little bit of a jig, then all of a sudden all these beams come out, and like, this looks like the pocket sand clip, but everybody likes calling it the nozzle. Me and my roommate, though, call it pocket stand, and that's all that matters. That's a big taunt, but that's a big minion wave. Buddy, Bush!
Yeah, Bush in a lot of trouble here. Does flash the ultimate, though. Still first blood goes over to Guyman as PhD in mid lane uses the rest of the ult to close the gap onto him and takes down the Ornn, who had just rudely shut down his top laner.
Sadly, this Bush cannot rely on towers this time. It is a 1-for-1, but when your enemy laner does get that first blood, we saw what happened in the game number 1, Dia, when the enemy top laner gets that early lead against the Shen, but here's another fight.
Oh, Perky the Parrot is so ridiculously dead. Demos is coming down to cover his AD carry, but the support without flash foregone conclusion right there, and the roam from Perfect Discourse pays off late.
And that is a great pickup here in the spot lane. Aang able to get the BF Sword and Crit Cloak here. Like, this is one of the biggest natural dichotomies of Ezreal matchups, at least until next season when items get so massively changed. But the difference between backing... Oh, that's a good charm. That's a good kite. Fill. Flash, and... Yeah, but this is one of the most natural dichotomies. No, never mind. Demos is hanging around in the mid lane here. I'll let you take the rein, Dia.
I think right now it's just about at the end of that play, unfortunately. But I really liked the PhD in mid lane going for the aggression there. The thing that we didn't talk about, he got the kill in the top lane. The games have been about PhD when he can get strong, and that's a good start.
Yeah, and now that I'm going to assume things are calming down a little bit, of course, as I say that, something potentially happens, but so one of the most classical things in bot lane in League of Legends up until maybe Season 11 when items have changed, it's a good knock-up, look for the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, it's not going to come out, so one of the most classic things in the bot lane, if I don't get interrupted again, never mind that, I'm interrupted once again.
Still nothing happens though. PhD in mid lane use the Spirit Rush to get out for right now. Being collapsed on by Phil as well as Perfect Discourse though is sitting in this red buff. Is going to be found out right now. Doesn't find the abscond onto Perfect Discourse. Gets taken down. Should be the follow-up here as Bush.
There's the Ornn.
That one with Esports, but Demos is going to get his passive popped right here and should be left for dead. Bush needs to walk the heck out here and sacrifice it, and a lot is lost to try and make that kill happen. Shimmy, what?
Caddy, if you have replays, for the love of God, please explain to me how the hell that happened, because that was a solo kill from Jimmy. No assists were garnered from that Lulu kill. I don't know what the hell happened, but I do know what the hell resulted from whatever the hell happened, and that is a 3-for-1 here in the favor of Oof, as it might be a 4-for-1 as Bush gonna get knocked up. There is no Ornn Horn, so thankfully not insane kill threat. But the Shen definitely having a little bit of a tricky time when we compare it to that last game, Dia.
And remind me, what are we calling this Silas item? The sand drawball, the
Pocket
Pocket
Okay,
stand.
if you
Pocket
don't know
stand.
the pocket stand clip, I am gonna delist you from my hashtag prospects list. You are gonna be losing a lot of vouch bucks and interactions on Twitter. So, but
That is
um,
that's unlucky.
so for those of you who don't know, it's a famous sorry, never mind. There's a
Oh
jump.
yeah, we're
There's a
getting
charm.
even more. Demos is visiting the mid lane once again. It is tried, and it is true in this series that Demos, his second lane is the mid lane. Gets in here with PhD in mid lane, grabs another kill, and that's a good look.
It's
Continue
definitely a
explaining
good
Pocket
look
Stand,
here.
please.
I mean, I know definitely a lot of eyes are looking at Ari after the most recent KDA video because, I mean, they were all looking fantastic there. But Silas, he's definitely a looker himself, so keep your eyes on him. 2-1 right now. Has the GLP completed actually with the Conquer build? That's not something we actually typically see on the Silas nowadays. Definitely the GLP was a little bit more common back in the day, but even back then, most Siluses preferred the the hex tech item that lets you dash. I forget what it's called.
Protobelt.
Proto belt, yeah. But yeah, Proto belt, because it would give you that little dash in. You'd have the conk, but nowadays most Siluses are favoring the fleet of footwork with the Q max and the early Proto belt still actually just for that laning prowess and just being able to survive through that lane since Silas does scale very well thanks to his ultimate, thanks to his base stats. This is a little bit of a different take though, a little bit of a classic take, and the Conqueror still does give you a lot more insane 1v1 power when it comes to the later stages of the game when we're talking about side lane split pushing situations, when we're talking about 1v1s. You just typically see the fleet of footwork, of course, because it helps you get through that lane. And of course, that move speed is so nice after you land the Upsun and abduct onto someone just to be able to stay onto them. And to address chat, yeah, I'm sorry, I almost said Family Guy. I kind of get mixed up a few times.
We're
but
seeing a fight here, though. Shimmy's approaching and does get the knockup onto Lulu. She should go down, but the Dragon has gone down as well. Zach securing that one for his team. Demos and PhD are wreaking havoc in the middle of the fight, though, with so much AoE damage out of this Silas. Will be able to grab up Aang here in the back line as well. Gets himself another couple gold. Looks for Chimmy. Finds the abduct. Chimmy gets taken down as Earl King gets one for himself. Perfect Discourse getting followed up on the charm. Will miss. PhD in mid lane looks for that abduct. Looks for that abscond. Doesn't find it, but they still find the kill. PhD in mid lane gets himself to 5-1, and the pop up around that dragon is real, and it is terrifying for Uth.
Now, Dia, Caddy, chat, tell me where you have seen this before. PhD in the mid lane getting a very strong lead in this series, having an extremely Gucci AF score line when it comes to that KDA, coming into the mid lane. Now, let's pair that with Silas, who we've been talking about skills very well, especially when it comes to that 1v1 in the side lane. Especially when it comes to against Ari with Ignite, who won't be able to match your global pressure with that teleport, will have a little bit of a tricky-ish time killing you. That is going to be one hell of a drug. And even though the gold is fairly close here, we're even in Dragons. No team has taken that first tower. Basically, plates are fairly even across the map. The fact that the Silas here for PhD in the mid lane, who has shown time and time again throughout the series that he can carry, he can make the magic happen, is now 5-1 and 2. Never mind that.
Yeah, we have another fight in the bot lane as Illic dies. Jimmy goes in, costs him the life of his ADC. There is Aang. Very quickly goes down, and the retreat button is pushed by Phil, who gets himself out of there. PhD, though, he does not have the retreat button. Goes straight in onto Perfect Discourse. No charm just yet as the cooldown is down.
Oh
wow, the explosion, though. PhD in mid lane. So much damage. What?
So, if our lovely producer, it's not KDA the baddest, it's KDA the caddest, could press X and look at the gold totals here. 2,200 gold separating these two mid laners. It has now grown even more. That was a solo first tower. Never mind that. There's the knock-up look for the chomp.
Perky he's getting abused right now. The exhaust does come down, though, and Earl King actually over the wall might finish off Phil. One more auto would do it. But now Perky gonna need to flash the wall to get away on his own. Rek'Sai goes low. It's not quite enough. but nicely done to not die, at least, from Perky, who looked very, very much on the rocks.
And this is why every melee champion that tries to kill some squishy hates the Lulu. Because even when you're trying to kill Lulu, you still have to deal with all the same tools as before. Oh, there's the slingshot. I don't think we're going to see too much kill potential. Bush is far away, but does have the same United look for that as here comes PhD.
Yeah, PhD in the mid lane. This is an all but dead Ornn. Gets another kill, 7-1 on the Silas. We talked about the counter pick not being there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's amazing too, because 7-Eleven is an international chain. We have 7-1-2, which is literally better. Never mind that.
Oh, yeah, it's once again the bot lane getting abused, though. Not for the cost of everything else. PhD in mid lane gets the Ash Arrow, though, and almost blows up Aang with that already dead now as a double kill for the Ahri. Still doesn't save her life and won't save Chimmy's either. Double kill for the Silas as he gets even further at full Leandries, full Super Soaker, as well as the boots and 2 more kills in his pocket.
And this is just literal disgusting tier. The Silas is just so monumentally far ahead. 3K differentiating them. That is...
Start saying something other than pocket right now, because whenever I say Silas gets into the kill in his pocket, like, surely his pockets are getting full.
Pocket sand.
Yeah, pocket sand.
Please watch the clip if you haven't, Tia.
Oh, I will.
Phil?
We're going to be getting a few other clips out of this game, though. Yeah, Esports demos. His passive gets popped. He could go down. Guyman just now going to be spotted. I think he just gets to finish him off here. There's the ultimate to try and grab this. Can he find it over the wall? Demos does dodge it out. Now Bush needs
they
to...
have damage.
Ooh.
Oh, pocket sand.
Oh, yeah. Aang is very, very dead here.
Oh, God,
that is so much, bro.
As an 80k player, I can 100% verify. I can give many a vouch bucks. That is the Season 10 80k experience. It is not going to get too much better in Season 11, I believe. Like, that was a literal 2-shot, if I've ever seen one. As PhD in the mid lane, 3 levels up, has a chain, has a dream. Yeah, okay. Do you even need a play-by-play when he's already dead?
Yeah, it's more of just watching him start to CS the champions right now. Has the Rek'Sai ultimate, so can't steal the Unbreakable Will, but that's still a combination that I'm looking for. That Ash Arrow, though, absolutely blowing up Aang, and right now he's got the Rek'Sai ultimate to be able to follow up onto anyone who he can't quite finish off. The Cloud Dragon is getting started up by demos, though, and it's just Plumbers Union running the Rift right now.
And we were hoping we'd see something different this game, but...
Phil, he gets followed by his own Rek'Sai ultimate. Very nice blast cone, but it won't save his life as the sad bee is flashed. God, this is so sad. PhD is looking incredible, and I'm so happy to see it. But just, oof, are not getting to play the game.
This is just such a massive gap, this game. Like, every other game so far has been fairly close until the final minutes where the gold lead just absolutely explodes in the favor of the Plumbers Union. But this time around, like, they grabbed the lead early, they've extended the lead early, and it's not looking too good here for the side of Oof. They really need to find their foothold in some lane here, because I'm going to take a look at the gold totals here, and it's not looking too good here. The only real sufficient gold leads happen to be in the top lane and support role as... Oh.
Perfect discourse should go down here. There's a Rek'Sai around, though. This might be the turnaround. Nope, never mind. Shen ult will save Silas's life if he even needed it. Gets a double kill for him as well, and everybody's just lining up to take chunks out of the Silas. It is not working. Guyman gonna get turned on right here. Misses the second part of the Ornn Horn as well, and he's gonna have to accept his life as well and truly over, because there are 3 members here, and you're not going anywhere, my friend.
And we said it last game, we'll say it this game again, Dia, but whenever there's a Shen, and he's level 6, you always account for an extra person, and Shen, just as a champion, makes life as the losing team so much harder, because a lot of how losing teams typically get back into games is through picks. You're getting that massive shutdown, then grabbing a team fight winner objective afterwards. But Shen just kind of nullifies that as there's the slingshot. Look for the let's bounce.
The rest of the team has started the fight, though. But PhD in mid lane, he's walking up with the Unbreakable Will. Literally doesn't have to take damage right now if he chooses to use the ultimate. Isn't even ticking just yet, as he doesn't need it to get himself a double kill off of a fight that has begun without him. Comes in, cleans it up. Guyman, the only guy left alive, along with Bill. And the inhibitor falls at 20 minutes into the game. There's the teleport that we saw end the game earlier. Unbreakable Will still not popped. PhD in mid lane below half health right now. Does get out from under the towers. Goes right back into pop. The Unbreakable Will gets another kill. Finishes off the tower. And the game seems like it is completely over at this point. We'll see if they can turn this around, though. Aang is coming out with Chimmy. Quadruple knock up there. Bush is being focused down here by Perfect Discourse, as well as Aang gets taken down. PhD in midline, the last one left alive, and he's getting the heck out of here as he does not want to deal with his numbers disadvantage. The charm will catch him, though. Perfect Discourse might be able to finish him off here with the range, might be able to do it. Kingslayer, though, buys PhD in midline so much time with the abscond, goes right back in, but is the shutdown for Perfect Discourse as finally the monster is put to rest.
That is a monster and a half, and very applicable since this is October. And 18 kills on the Silas. 18 kills, like, that is more than a decent amount of teams in certain games will have as a team throughout the game. This is on a singular pick, and a scaling pick that can be super scary. Of course, though, 18 out of 26, that is a gargantuan portion of your team skills. So if you are somehow able to take out this Silas and then force a fight, or take out this Silas and force an objective, that can be massive here, since comparatively, the other members, it's kind of looking like 1929 with their economy. Like, definitely, they aren't poor like it's 1929, but Silas, right now, for PhD in the mid lane, is a 1%er. Like, good lord, this man is rich.
Yeah, and Earl King right now, like you said, isn't doing bad for himself either. Has full Trinity Force as well as the completed Muramana here, but just nothing doing with the damage as compared to Silas here. They're starting up the Baron. That's how confident they are right now.
I mean, they have a very definitive, very massive gold lead right now. What the hell is the enemy team gonna do to stop you? There's the slingshot, immediate dip and dive on out from Perfect Discourse. He still does have 2 charges. He still has a charm. Let's see what happens if he's gonna miss, as that's a steal. That's an Ornn horn. That is a Ornn whiff, as no you comes on out.
Oh yeah, and there's the damage. Perfect Discourse already goes down. Phil on the flank here, trying to find the Silas, will interrupt the teleport to cut them off. But it's all about the rest of the team that, like you said, they're not feeling bad either. Perky the Parrot grabs a kill onto Aang. Demos is still alive. Earl King, he goes forward under the tower with the arcane shift. Pokes out Chimmy here, and PhD finally is finished dealing with Bill. Comes right back in. Perky the Parrot still lives despite the knockups, and it should be the game being over right now as arcane shift over the wall. And it might not even be in time. PhD in mid lane even grabs the last auto onto the Nexus to really put the nail in the coffin as they 3-0 oof in the semifinals.
And what a commanding statement here, Dia, because an 11-1 team gets dethroned by a 6-5 team. Not to throw any shade whatsoever towards the Plumbers Union. They made it here for a reason. It's just, they were also the underdogs for a reason going into this match, but if we ignore the score lines for previous records here and just look at this game, you would kind of think that it's like we're putting a couple of challengers against a couple of rando plats here, and good lord.
I wouldn't take it that far. I mean, the last game was really, really rough, but every game up to that was relatively even. And I think that it must have been a pocket pick or something that Plumbers Union was waiting to pull out for when they didn't get that counter pick.
Yeah, and it definitely worked out, and I feel like the RA pick just was not the best here when you knew it was Silas. Like, I know, of course, we do have the hindsight 2020, and we can always just do the 2020 analysis of like, wow, you lost, so you obviously did everything bad. But I just feel like this Ari pick was not the best in this Silas. I feel like there may have been other potential picks they could have done that could have been better, but I mean, it's a 3-0. Like, there's no coming back right now from the side of oof. Their run is done. We have secured a final spot here for the side of the Plumbers Union. Like, they've locked in a finals ticket with a 3-0 deal. Like,
And they
that is a
toured
very
last
commanding
week.
statement.
Like, yeah, like you're saying, for a 6-5 team to be able to turn this around, going 2-0 last week, going 3-0 this week, going into the finals, they are incredibly high on themselves, and they're moving up against Team 10 as or PBM. I'm not sure who's winning because I'm sure that they're not going 3-0 right now, but we did see Plumbers Union lose to Team 10 just in the last week of the regular season. If Team 10 make it to the finals, they might have a chance at taking down what seems to be a titanous team right now.
And I'm curious to see how that shapes up because this was a very exciting series. And when we're talking about the finals here, it can only get more exciting from here on out, Dia.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm going to be keeping my eyes on. And I'm definitely going to be tuning in to see whatever the hell happens for the finals here because this is one hell of a blowout. Don't let the sleeping dog in the background fool you guys. Like, this was definitely a hashtag banger series. It's just dogs don't have the cognitive levels to dis- discern very good League of Legends play. Like look at that furball. She does not even understand basic macros, so she can't tell you how Gucci this series was.
Oh yeah, right now I'm turning away here because I'm trying to figure out if we can get an interview. I would love to talk to one of the players on Plumbers Union, especially because of that last sort of turn of the regular season that we saw. I want to see what they think has changed since then. So we're figuring it out, rest assured. But in the meantime, I do want to continue, addressing not only this game, but the series as a whole, because I mean, we talked about the Ari counter pick in the last game, and it was well intentioned with the roams, but I feel like the read here was very much play around the mid lane, not only for demos because he was doing it, but PhD in mid lane knew that he had to get ahead himself, and we saw him mirroring that roam to the bot lane with the Rek'Sai into the top lane where he did get a kill.
Yeah, and it just worked out so beautifully for the side of the Plumbers Union this game. Like, because as we mentioned earlier, both the other games prior to this were fairly close for the most part until the closing few minutes of the game. This was just the Plumbers Union getting a lead early, continuing that lead, and snowballing that lead because we're asking a big question going into this game number 3 like, oof, if they do get that red side, which they did do, is the counter pick in the mid lane gonna make the crucial difference? And it does not seem like it happened to do that. And another thing to note here is that the Plumbers Union, like, they played a lot of different picks throughout this series. I believe everyone played at least 2 unique picks. And that's definitely interesting going into the finals because it does speak to the flexibility of these players and the flexibility of their drafts.
It really does. Right now, we're popping into that potential interview right now, though. I think that we're going to get PhD in mid lane. Hello, PhD. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Are you okay if I call you PhD?
Please do.
Let me
Wonderful, wonderful.
turn up your volume.
There we go. Just so that we can all hear you out here on the broadcast. But I got a friend in the chat who is a huge fan of the last pick that we took, so I have to ask, what who was the madman who decided to lock in the Silas into Alistair? Was that a call from you? Was that a call from the coach? What happened there?
Basically, when draft started, I just listed off a few picks that I had. I said like LeBlanc, Silas, and that was pretty much it. And we just decided that we like Silas, so we locked that bad boy in.
I
Well,
like it.
chat definitely did like Silas too. I mean, I think Silas was only second to Zuki over here this series in terms of likability. Can't like that fluff ball, but you were definitely a huge point and a lot of dubs in this series, PhD. And I wanted to ask, like, do you think it was a mid lane difference, or do you think it was like maybe a little bit of the jungle focus that we were highlighting a lot on the desk here? Because it felt like Demo Z was focusing a lot on the mid lane, and we felt like maybe that was helping you get to these very commanding leads and take over the game.
Yeah, so that's another benefit of the Silas pick that we liked. It's just easier gank setup, over Oriana or LeBlanc. And with Zach especially, can fly on in there and it's nice and easy. So we made the call to stick around mid, especially keeping track of Ari's flash timers and ult timers. So yeah, that guy died a bunch.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot, and I felt like, especially in that last game, it was cool how you guys picked up your advantages in different places because we saw that manifest differently throughout all the 3 games. One of the other things that I wanted to ask you, because I had the pleasure of casting your last game of the regular season, where I believe you went up against Team 10, and you guys were still looking, I want to say, like a relatively average team. You fought, took some games off them, but it wasn't anything near as convincing as we saw today. And this was against a team that was much more dominant in the regular season. What have you guys changed since playoffs? Or like what is it that has changed about the team going into this that has allowed you to be so dominant in this?
Honestly, we all just want it really bad. Like I 100% agree. A few months or weeks ago, we were a little sloppy, but we've since then found our what we want to pick, being that like a prio mid or whatever.
Mm,
And building off of that, and yeah, we all just want it really bad. I got a cool ass team over here. We're a bunch of cool dudes. I think that's it. It's just the mental, man.
not a
That's
respect.
true. And I guess one final question is, you've locked in a spot for finals here, PhD, which is quite the accomplishment, no matter how you phrase it. And any words you want to say, like any shout outs, any things you want to say to the audience, or maybe my lovely dog Zuki in the background. Yeah, she's such a cute little doggy. Any words you want to be giving out, any thoughts you want to be giving out as you and the plumber crew go into the finals for next week.
Definitely gonna have to shout out my captain here, 4,000 IQ, for making it to today's game. Oh wait, never mind. He didn't make it to the game. Shit.
Darn.
No, great captain. Gave us a little pep talk before he had to leave. That was great. That is a very cute dog.
I know.
That's a good girl.
She is
And
so cute.
chat is wondering, are you sitting on a bouncy ball or
Yes,
something?
yes, I'm sitting on an exercise ball.
Okay, that was our
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Come on,
Now we
PhD.
know.
We asked the questions here, not you, buddy.
That's my bad. I had to
No,
know.
no,
Know your
respect.
place, play. But yeah.
You gotta go after the knowledge that you seek, or in this case, the title that you seek. And I know that I, for one, will be tuning in to watch you guys next week. Best of luck, and thank you so much for the incredible series today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you in chat as well for joining us. That's going to wrap up the interview. And more importantly, it's going to wrap up the broadcast because, as much as it's a best of 5, those were 3 games and they're gone. Tune in next week to catch how this series ends because Plumbers Union look unstoppable going into the finals. Will they finally be turned around on by the team that meets them there? Or will it be the end of the road? Find out then, and watch all of our other broadcasts here at Risen, because like GoFarino will tell you, we're awesome, and we'll see you next time.